Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto steals the forbidden scroll. He learns that not only does he have a mother but also a twin sister. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Naruto walked into the Hokage's office still thinking of the events that happened earlier tonight. Naruto had stolen the forbidden scroll after being tricked by Mizuki, and thus learned not only Kagebunshi no Jutsu but also about his burden. Beside him was the man who helped him understand most of the truth. Iruka-sensei. The third smiled and said, "That's all for now, Iruka. Please go to the hospital and get checked out. I will make sure no harm befalls Naruto." Iruka smiled and said, "Thank you, Hokage-sama. Good luck, Naruto." As he gave him a small hug, Iruka then turned and left. After he was gone, the third looked at Naruto and said, "I am sure you have a lot of questions. I will try and answer them." Naruto took a seat and after a few moments of silence he asked the number one question on his mind, "Why?" The third sighed and said, "I don't know how to explain that one." A knock on the door was heard and the third said, "Enter." The door opened and the third said, "What do I owe the honor of you visit, Mrs.?" The woman said, "Can it Sarutobi? I came to see him." Naruto turned and looked at the woman behind him and saw she was a red-headed woman in her late 30s or early 40s with green eyes, but what surprised him most is she looked like an older version of one of his classmates. The third said, "Are you sure you want to do that now? I mean, have you thought about?" The look the woman gave the third sent a cold chill down his spine and she said, "Yes. I even brought her to tell them both the truth." The third said, "But it's too soon." Naruto asked, "What's going on, old man?" The woman looked at Naruto, and her cold eyes softened, and a look of sorrow crossed her face, and said, "He's just like his father." Naruto's eyes got wide for a moment, but he said nothing, afraid that it would curse it. The third sighed and said, "I guess it can't be helped, but perhaps it would be best if you came in and brought your daughter with you. I'm sure she is just as curious as to what's going on." The woman nods and walks in and said, "Come on in, dear." And Naruto was not really surprised as to who the woman daughter was. I mean, they looked a lot alike. The girl looked at her mom and asked, "Mom, what's going on and why did you drag me here tonight? You know I have to get ready to impress Sasuke-kun tomorrow." The woman got angry and said, "Sakura, for once in your life shut up. There are more important things in life than your crush. Like meeting your twin brother." Sakura looked at her mom confused and then looked around the room and her eyes landed on Naruto and looked around again and asked, "What do you mean by my twin brother? I don't have any brothers or sisters." The woman sighed and said, "Sit down, dear. It's time you both learned the truth of what happened 14 years ago, the night the Kyuubi attacked, and for you to both learn who your father was." Sakura said, "But I know who my dad was. You told me already. You said his name was Arlen Harino. You said he was a merchant that died during the Kyuubi attack." Naruto finally had enough and asked, "I hate to ask, but who are you?" "I know Sakura from school, but who are you?" The woman said, "My real name is Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, former ninja of the land of Whirlpool and widow of Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage, your father and the man who sealed Kyuubi in you to save the village." The third, while this was going on, had sat quietly, already knew this was going to be rough and had secretly started channeling chakra into a security seal that made it where no one else but him could mold chakra or enter the room or leave. Naruto was wide-eyed and he felt numb and Sakura asked, "Mom, what are you talking about? You're not making any sense. How can you be his mom? You're my mom and I have been an only child my whole life, and what do you mean by sealing Kyuubi? The Yondaime killed Kyuubi." The third cleared his throat and said, "Actually, Sakura, what you know about the defeat of the Kyuubi by the Yondaime is an edited version. I passed a law stating no one was to tell the younger generation so that way your brother could live a halfway normal life. However, because of the ignorance of the villagers and some ninja, they see Naruto as the Kyuubi and not what he is. The prison for the Kyuubi. The truth is nobody can kill a demon because it is immortal. Your father, the Yondaime Hokage, came up with a forbidden sealing method to make it where it can be killed. He made it mortal by sealing it in your twin brother who is Naruto. When Naruto dies, so does the Kyuubi." Sakura's brain was going 100 miles a second processing the information. Naruto said in a low tone, "If what you're saying is true, then why have I had to grow up alone, hated, abused, beaten, starved, swore at and told how I never should have been born? You always told me, old man, that I had no family and that I was an orphan. Until a few hours ago, when Mizuki tried to kill me, I did not even know why I was hated. Now you're telling me that not only do I have a sister, but my mother is also alive and my father is the man who put the reason I'm hated in me. I asked earlier and I will ask again. Why? Why me? Why was I chosen? Why was I lied to? Why was I abandoned? Why?" As his voice rose with anger the more he spoke, making everyone flinch at the end as tears started falling and he fell to the floor holding his knees to his face trying to hide his pain. Sakura was stunned by what she heard his life was like and wondered how much of it was true and was also wondering the same thing herself. How come she was lied to? Lied about who her father was. Her mother lied to her for her whole life. How come she never knew she had a brother? Her thoughts were interrupted by Naruto's soft voice saying, "Why me?" Kushina had tears in her eyes and she said, "I'm sorry, son. We had no choice." Naruto looked up and Sakura gasped. Naruto's eyes and his face showed so much sadness and anger that she had never seen anything like it before and prayed never to see it again. His eyes were flashing between blue and red. The Hokage saw this, as did Kushina. Naruto said in an aching voice, no choice, no choice. What the hell do you mean you had no choice? I had no choice in the matter. I was born, and on the same day any chance I had of happiness was destroyed by a man I grew up worshipping, who I find out is my father, and you said you had no choice. Do you even care for me? Did you ever care for me? And he turned and tried to leave, but the door would not open, so he ran over to the window and tried to get out, and it would not let him. He picked up a chair and tried to throw it through the window, and it just bounced off the window and onto the floor. Naruto tried to do cage bunshin, but it would not work, and he was getting pissed and screamed, what the hell is going on? Why can't I get out of here? The third said, I have made it where you can't leave until you calm down and know why. Naruto, never being one for patience, tried one last time to bust the window and looked down and said, fine. I'm waiting. In a dead, defeated voice, the third said, Sakura, do you understand that your brother is just the prison of the Kyuubi and not the Kyuubi? Sakura looked at Naruto, who looked at her with lost eyes, and she said, of course. Who could think he could be some big bad demon? Besides, everyone knows that a weapon sealed in a scroll is not the same weapon. The third smiled and looked at Naruto, who was looking at his sister with a mixture of emotions, but caught the look he sent his mother and lost his smile, and said, I guess I should tell you what happened the day Kyuubi attacked. Flashback. The great beast Kyuubi was just a few hours away from Konoha. The village had knew for nearly a week now that it was heading in this direction, and most of the villagers had decided to wait for the last minute to leave in case it decided to go somewhere else. The Yondaime Hokage of Konoha was currently sitting in the waiting room of the hospital with his predecessor, the third Hokage. The third asked, are you sure that this is what must be done to stop it? Minato said, I am afraid so. There is no other way without fearing that it will break free and attack again. The third asked, what will Kushina do? I mean, nobody knew you were married or anything except me and Jiraiya and the other witness. Minato said, she's going to hate me for this, but I can't stand the thought of her having to deal with what I know this village will do. I hope that they see him as a hero, but I know they won't. I found out secretly during her last exam that she's having twins. A boy and a girl. She does not know it. Wanting to be surprised and all, I don't want her to find out, so unless she discovers it on her own, I want you to make her think that she only had the daughter. The boy's name will be Naruto Uzumaki. If she asked why he has her maiden name, say I chose it since he was an orphan and needed a name. The third looked at him and said, you know that's low. I mean, it's not only bad for her but both your kids. Minato said, and you know as well as I do that if my enemies were to find out about any of them, all three of them will be in danger. I can only hope that by doing this that all three can live without my enemies finding out about them. Kushina and I already came up with a new name to hide her and our daughter with. The third looked at him sadly and said, I understanding you wanting to protect them all, but don't you feel that this is too much for your son? Minato sighed and said, if he's allowed to live with his mother and sister, the people would shun all three in them, and would hurt his sister and mother just to get to him. This is the only way I can think of to do this. The third said, why can't you just choose a random orphan to do this to then? Minato sat quietly for a moment, and asked, only someone of my family will be able to handle the fox's chakra without being completely corrupted by it. The third asked, what do you mean? As far as I know, you were an orphan yourself. Why would someone of your family line be different from other people? Minato smiled and said, just a hunch. There's never been that many blondes in this village. I got to go, here comes the nurse. As he got up and left the third, and flashback, Naruto stood there, and he said, so my father made the choice, huh? If what you're saying is true, how does she know I'm her son then? Kushina said, the only other person who knew we were married besides the third and Jiraiya figured it out, and told me, but by the time he figured it out you were already in the ninja academy. I had to call in a few favors and trick a doctor at the hospital by saying that I needed a paternity test on Sakura blood because someone sent me a letter saying there was a mix-up the night she was born. I had a friend take a blood sample from you after the attack on you when you were 7 on your birthday, and had the doctor run the test. It came back a match. After that I confronted the third here about it, and he told me the truth but told me that I could not do anything or claim you because he had already had you declared an adult. Not only that, but if you were to be claimed by me, the council would have enough power to overturn his law that was protecting you. I had no choice but to watch from afar. Sakura asked, if that's true, Mom, then what's changed now? Kushina said, simple, the council can't touch him now that he is an official genin. Even if he fails to pass the next test, he can take it again when the next class graduate, but he is officially a genin initiate. Naruto asked, how did you know that? I mean, if it were not for Mizuki I still would have failed. Sakura couldn't have told you because I only got my height a little while ago. The third said, I am also curious as to how you found out so fast. Kushina said, the person who told me about Naruto being my son was also the same person who called me earlier and said that Naruto had passed and Irika had given his height. Naruto thought for a moment and said, the only people who would know that is I am and her dad. Sakura asked, who? Naruto was stunned and smiled, thinking because of the old man and his daughter he finally had a family. Sakura was confused and asked what would his pranking have to do with anything. Naruto was curious about that also, but the third started to laugh and said, besides the names people call Naruto because of the Kyuubi, he has earned 2 other nicknames from many of the ninja who don't see him as the Kyuubi. One is the #1 hyperactive knucklehead surprise ninja. Kushina said the other one is a title he stole from his father. Naruto asked, what was it? getting more interested in learning about his family and forgetting he was mad. The third said, the prank master from hell? With a smile on his face, Naruto sat down and looked around and asked the question that's bothered him the most to ask right now: what's going to happen now? Sakura looked at Naruto and said, you're going to live with us, brother. Accepting the fact and oddly enough also feeling good to call someone brother, Naruto was stunned and oddly happy, but sadly all good things can't go as planned as the third sighed and said, I'm afraid that can't happen. At least not yet. Kushina asked why. Shocked and upset, the third said, because you can't afford to support him, as well as the threat someone will try and use you to get to him, or Sakura. Naruto looked at the third and screamed, you mean you let me know I have family and now I can't be with them? What do I have to do to finally get some happiness? The third calmly said, remember the last thing I told you your father told me before he went to the delivery room? Naruto thought for a moment and said something about blondes, but what of it? Kushina looked at the third and said, what do you have planned, Hokage-sama? The third reached into a drawer and pulled out 2 slips of paper and said, Sakura, Naruto, please do me a favor and channel some chakra into these papers. If I am right about what I think will happen, then I know what your father meant, and it will also mean that as soon as I can arrange it, then you all can not only live together as a family but also with your true last name. Naruto and Sakura both looked at the paper in their hands, and the third smirked as he looked at it, and said, so I was right. Kushina asked what? The third said, there's another bloodline that used to be in Konoha, one that is specific to one person to be exact. The man I am talking about had 1 child who then had 2 children. A son that died during the war and a daughter who did not possess his bloodline, so it was thought that it died out. I see now that it did not, and also proved my theory I have had for a while. You could say that you each have a bloodline of sorts. Sakura said, I have a bloodline? What is it? The third said, I will tell you in a moment. Look at your card, Sakura. You see how it is wet? You have an affinity to water, though that's not what I am thinking is a bloodline. You see, I now know who your grandmother is. She is considered a genius in the ninja world, but because of her chakra control she is legendary because it is perfect control. No matter how much chakra she has, she always has perfect control. From what I read about you in the academy, yours is the same, but it is easily mistaken for having small chakra pools. Sakura said, so you're saying my bloodline is perfect chakra control? Not really understanding what that meant or would do, the third nods and Naruto said, well, what about me? I mean, what does this mean? The third smiled and said, you Naruto are truly special. I now know why your father chose you to hold the kyubi. Your bloodline makes it where you can control demons. You see the card split down the middle. That means you have a wind affinity, while rare in the fire country is not unusual, or a bloodline. However, your card also got wet and turned to dirt as well. As you heard from your sister, wet means water while dirt is earth, which are pretty common actually. But if you notice that the card did one other thing. What is it? Everyone looked at it, and Sakura said it looks like wood. Kushina gasped and looked at the third, who nodded his head and said, you both are descendants of the Shodame Hokage of Konoha, who was the brother of the Nidame Hokage of Konoha, and your grandmother is none other than the legendary Tsunade of the Sanins. I don't know how your father found out, but I honestly believe that had you been any other child you would have died from the ceiling, and that the Yandame's sacrifice would have been for nothing. Naruto said, well, that's all good and all, but how does that make it where I can be with my mom and sister? The third said, because once I can get a message to her and tell her what we found out, then she will return, and once we do a blood test to prove what I believe, you Naruto can be put under the clan restoration law. It makes it where all 13 clans of Konoha have no choice but to protect you and your family. Even if they hate you because of the kyubi, they are bound by law to help protect you. Failure to do so would mean that they lose all rights as a clan, and they will be forced to leave Konoha. Kushina's eyes widened as she realized what that means and said, wait, if he were put under that law, then that means that. The third said, yes, he will have to have at least 2 wives. The same thing for the Uchiha if he activates his Sharingan. Sakura said, what? What do you mean that he would have to have 2 wives, and why would Sasuke-kun? The third said the law was set up to prevent the end of any of the founding clans of Konoha. It mostly applies to those of bloodlines, but there are a few exceptions. But the Shodame family as well as his brother were both classified as bloodlines, so the only way a bloodline clan could fall under it is if they actually had the active bloodline, and if there were less than 3 members left, and they were male. Females can't be put in the law because fear of rapes to force the bloodlines, so even if your perfect chakra control is a bloodline Sakura, it won't mean you will be forced to marry several men. Sakura nods and Naruto asks, so how do I get to know how to use my bloodline? The third said, tomorrow after your team placements you are to come here, Naruto, and I will have someone take you and begin training you with it, as well as to get you some real ninja cloths. You and I both know the only reason you wear orange is because that's all anyone would sell you. Sakura was shocked. She remembered all the times that she made fun of his outfit, and she started to feel ill. She looked at Naruto and said, Naruto, look, I want to say I'm sorry for everything I done to you in the academy. Naruto smiled and said, Sakura, I could never stay mad at you. It hurt some of the things you and others said, but you earned my forgiveness earlier when you accepted the fact I am me and not Kyubi, as well as calling me brother. You don't know how much I wanted to have a family in my life. I'm sorry for always bothering you for a date. Looks like it was for the best you never accepted. Sakura said, actually mom told me never to accept. I see why now. As she looks at her mother, Naruto scratches his head and asks, I got a weird question. 2 actually. If your hair is red and mine is blonde, how's is Sakura pink? And my second question is, who's older? Sakura said, yeah, you told me I got it from dad. Kushina said, truth is my hair used to be pink, but as I got older it turned red. My mother was the same way, she told me, and based on the fact Sakura birth certificate has her being born October 11th instead of the 10, that would mean you are older, Naruto. Naruto said to Bad, your hair matches your name perfectly. At least I get to be big brother. Kushina slapped her forehead and said, it's official, you're definitely your father's son. How else can you be so blind to that Hinata girl being obsessed of you? Naruto snickered and said, no, I know all about Hinata being obsessed over me, and I was officially told by Hayashi that I am to act ignorant of it. She is already betrothed to someone. He said if I ever tried to get with her, tell her of this threat, or have someone tell her or be more than a friend to her, then I would wind up a slave to the Hyuga clan for assaulting the heiress, and based on their laws I would be branded with the caged bird seal, and any member of the main branch could use it on my and torture me forever. Thanks to my healing ability I would not die from it, but I would welcome it. Did I forget anything, old man? The third said nope, that was about all he said. Sakura was stunned and asked, okay, so let me get this straight, you knew that she liked you and you ignored her feelings because you don't like her. Why did you not just tell her? She would have listened. Naruto looked at Sakura and said, really, if Sasuke told you he did not like you, would you listen to him? Sakura said, of course I would, but I know he likes me. Naruto said, fine, I got a bet for you. I will tell Sasuke tomorrow that if he tells you that he either likes you or not, that you would accept his wishes, and you did accept his wishes. I will tell Hinata. However, should you not accept his answer, then you have to help me with dating tips if or when I find someone I like, since you're so fond of telling me how much of an idiot I am when it comes to women. Deal. As he held out his hand, Sakura looked at him and said, deal. As she took his hand, Kushina sighed and said, how I wished you both could have grown up together. Anyways, how do we do this until Tsunade comes? The third said, if you all agree not to tell anyone that you're related and who your other relatives are, then I will allow you every Wednesday and Sunday to come to my clan compound at 10 a.m. and spend the day there. Since the only ones who live there are me, Asuma my son, and Konohamaru my grandson, they will keep quiet. Kushina looked at her children and said, looks like this is the only way we will get a chance to be together. What do you say? Naruto said, I will take what I can get. Sakura nods and said, I suppose the baka has a point. Naruto whines and said, don't call me a baka, Sakura-chan. The third said, I'm sorry to ruin this family get-together, but I must be getting home soon. Remember, you can't tell anyone about your bloodline's family, his private training or QB. Is that understood? All three looked at each other, and Kushina said, we understand. The third said, good. Kushina, Sakura, I must ask that you go on ahead to maintain appearances. Don't worry, Sakura. I got a plan for you and Naruto to let you have time to get to know each other better. Sakura nods and wondered how he knew she was wanting to know how much of her brother was an act and how much was real, as her and her mother left, but not before giving Naruto a hug, and they both were shocked when Naruto stiffened both times, and they realized how he must have never had contact like that. Kushina even gave her son a kiss on the forehead and told him how sorry she was. After they were gone, Naruto looked at the third with narrowed eyes, and the third knew he was pissed and said, I am sorry, Naruto, but I knew that if you knew the truth about them you would have wanted to protect them from everything, and you're not strong enough to do that. Not yet. That's why I kept the truth from you. Naruto walked forward and put his hands on the desk and looked at the village leader's eyes and said, if I am not strong enough to protect my family, then tell me how to do it to become strong enough. The third said, come here tomorrow after team selections, and you will begin then. Naruto nods and asked, is that all? The third said, yes. For now. Naruto turned and left. The third, after Naruto left, sighed and said, what do you think, Yamato? A shadow dissolved and an Anbu was standing there, and said, the boy is strong, but the QB chakra still influences him a little when extremely emotional. I believe me training him in the use of his bloodline should help with that. The third nods and said, I don't care how you do it. Between now and the time Tsunade arrives, I want you to push him as much as possible, but do it away from everyone. Use the Forest of Death if you have to, but stay on the west side, and I will inform Enko that you are doing tests out there on your bloodline so she won't visit. I fear that if she were to see him in his weakened state both physically, mentally, and emotionally, she may destroy this village. I don't know how or when she had Minato, but there is no way that it could not have been her, since her brother died when he was 13, and he had not had time to be with anyone. Notice Tsunade 56, currently Minato 27 at death, Naruto and Sakura 14. Yamato said, okay, Hokage-sama. Should I reveal how I have his bloodline, should he ask? The third said, yes. Do it as a sign of trust. Also, I will give you money to get him some new cloths and gear. That's all. Dismissed. Yamato nodded and left. The third sighed and said, I'm sorry to all of you. As he thought of the family that just left, Sakura and her mom walked quietly home, not saying a word, and when they got home, Kushina ran to her room and closed the door, shocking Sakura. Sakura locked the door and went toward her mother's room. She slowly opened the door and saw her mother sitting on her bed crying while holding a picture. Sakura walked over and saw it was a picture of her and Naruto, and it looked like Naruto was asking her on a date, and her mom said, this is the only picture I have of you both together. Ino took it and used it as a joke to bug you. And she started to cry again. Sakura looked at her mom and asked, what's true, mom? I mean, first I was told that you're a civilian, but now I hear you were a ninja. Kushina sighed and wiped her eyes away and said I was a jounin from Whirlpool until we had a civil war, and my family was killed off. I asked the Kage to let me come to Konoha since I heard so much about it during the war and afterwards how it prospered. I came to Konoha to get a new start. I met your father who was the Hokage and he agreed to let me join, but he said I had a probation period where I was only allowed to go to certain areas and not allowed to do any missions until the time was over. I agreed since I wanted to forget killing and all the other dangers, and so I took up working at the ramen stand to get some income while I waited to do missions. Ironically, your father and brother both had the same appetite. He came to the ramen stand several times a day to get food and we started talking, and then one day he asked me out on a date. I told him only if it wasn't ramen. Sakura and her both laughed then but soon stopped. Kushina sighed and said the date was perfect, and we went on another and another. 1 month after we started to date, he asked me to marry him. We got married on top of the Hokage mountain with only 2 witnesses and the third did the service. We kept everything quiet and did not tell anyone about us. Then I got pregnant, and one of his students from his genin team that was a medic nin was told about us, but she kept it quiet and was the one who delivered you. Sadly, she died that night. The QB attacked when a man who was dying from blood loss became delusional and pulled out a kunai and killed her. After that I gave up being a ninja, losing the man I loved so soon after losing my family. I could not take it, and so I took the life of a civilian. The only one who knew the truth about me was the ones who were at our wedding. The third changed my name to Haruno and gave me a fake background and allowed me to work at the library where he could pay me extra money to help pay to take care of you. Then I found out about your brother, and the rest is history. Sakura was stunned as she learned the truth. She then asked Mom, what was his life like? The way he acted tonight, it makes it sound like everything I know about him is a lie. Kushina sighed and said, Sakura, that answer is one that is not pretty. I will tell you, but know that you're not going to like it. Sakura had to swallow a lump that formed in her throat and said, I need to know, Mom. Kushina sighed and got up off of her bed and walked to her dresser and opened a drawer and pulled out a folder and looked sad as she walked back over to Sakura and said, that's the official report of his life until age 7. The third gave it to me when I tried to get him to be able to live with us. Sakura looked at her mother one last time and looked at the folder. She slowly opened it and started to read. It took her 4 hours to make it through, and she set it down and asked how did he stay sane. Why did he not kill everyone or himself? Kushina said, you must have missed what happened when he was 4. Sakura looked again and luckily it was labeled by age to help, and soon found it and said split personality. Kushina said, yeah, Dad went into his mind and sealed his other personality away. It was made out of all his darker emotions from what the third said. After that he always had that stupid smile on his face because all the hate and everything still went there. The third has been worried about what might happen if the seal holding it back ever breaks. Sakura was confused and asked what would happen. Kushina sighed and said, think of it like this. All this time he has only had half his brain working. If the seal broke, both halves of his brain would fight for control. No matter which one won the battle, Naruto's skills will increase significantly, maybe even going from an idiot to a genius even though he's no idiot. Well, in some things he is. Or going from the fun-loving person you see normally to someone who wants nothing more than to get revenge on everyone. Sakura was stunned and saddened, and said, why does all this happen to him? Kushina looked down, and said, I have asked myself that same question ever since I found out he's been alive. Sakura asked, so what do we do? Kushina looked at her, and said, are you serious about being a ninja, dear? Sakura said, of course. Why? Kushina said, I know that old monkey of a Hokage pretty well, and he won't let the secret out unless not only Naruto but also you and me are strong enough to protect ourselves. Not just Naruto. If you are serious about not only being a ninja but also getting to finally have your brother in your life, then you and I both need to train and hard. Sakura looked at her mom and asked, what do I have to do? Kushina sighed and said, the one thing you might hate me for. You must stop focusing on love and start focusing on training and getting strong. I can teach you, but it will be up to you to actually train and work on getting to the point you can take down 20 or more enemies at one time. You must have speed, strength, agility, cunning and reflexes that will move you in a blink of an eye. It will be hell to get there, and you will always have to get stronger. Every time an enemy lives that you have faced, you must get twice as strong just to be even with them. You must also be willing to kill. Do you have that kind of willpower? As her eyes looked into her daughter's eyes and showed her that she was deadly serious as her voice went from soft and kind to cold and uncaring. Sakura was shocked by the look in her mother's eyes and saw something she had never seen in her mother. The eyes of someone who has killed their emotions. Sakura asked, is this the life that I am choosing, Mom? The life to not only be a killer if it is needed but also the killer of my emotions. Kushina said, if you do it for the right reason, then no. Your father said it best when he said protecting what is important to you. When you are doing that, nothing is impossible. If you are doing it for any other reason, then you are doing it for the wrong reason. Sakura swallowed the lump in her throat and said, I will do what I must. If not for myself, then for my brother and you. Kushina said, good. Get you some sleep. Training starts tomorrow. As she took the folder from her daughter and put it up, Sakura asked, what about Naruto? What of his training? Kushina laughed and said, don't worry, right now your brother is actually stronger than both of us put together. He took out a Chunin earlier tonight. From what I heard, though he did not kill, he did use 1000 cage bunshin and beat the shit out of him. Right now in raw power he is probably Jounin, though his control is different. I am about low Chunin, and you are just barely Genin. I hate to be blunt, but you need to know the truth and face it and surpass your limitation. Sakura asked, wait, if Naruto is that strong, then why did he fail the Genin test? Kushina said, think about it, Sakura. Not only was he not trained right because teachers were being mean to him, but also the fact that he has half his brain sealed, as well as the fact that he has more chakra in his body than everyone in this village put together, and he has no chakra control. If he learned to control his chakra, then he would be Kage level already. The fox, from what I hear, also screws up his control, and it seems that your brother will never be able to perform a regular bunshin because of the fact he has so much chakra. Sakura nodded and went to her room, but slept very badly as images of Naruto life flashed in her head. Naruto fell asleep that night but immediately woke up to the sound of dripping water. He looked around and saw a huge tunnel and saw a reed light coming from the tunnel. He soon headed toward the light and soon came upon Kyuubi cage. Naruto blinked and the form of the Kyuubi appeared and said, so it would seem that he is here at last. A cloaked figure stepped out of the shadows with a black cloak over his head and body, so you could not tell anything about him, and he said, so it would seem. To think this boy is destined to save the world or destroy it. Naruto blinked and said, okay, I can tell the giant fox is Kyuubi, so I figure I must be in the seal or in my mind, but who are you and how did you get here? The cloaked figure removed his hood and Naruto saw it was himself, but looked like he was insane or something, and he said, I have always been here and will always be here. Do you really think that you could go through the hell that you had to without some kind of consequence? I am you, or rather your darker side. All your life you have shoved all the emotions away from everyone and never released it. That is how I was created. Every bit of pain, anger, sadness are inside of me along with your true power. If you want it, you must do something. Naruto asked, what must I do? The figure looked into the Kyuubi cage and Naruto followed his eyes, and the figure said, you must beat me. If you win, you get all your true power. However, if you lose, I get control of your body, and I will get revenge on everyone who has been mean to me and you will be dead. Naruto blinked and said, that has got to be the stupidest thing I have ever heard. I am already strong enough without this true power you speak of, so why would I risk it? The figure smirked and said, it's your choice. Don't try it before you're ready, because I will kill you if you fight me. However, there will come a time when you will want my power. And then he faded away. Naruto looked at Kyuubi and said, so what's your story? Kyuubi smirked and said, I don't give a fuck about you. Besides the fact you die, I die, and I have made a deal with your doppelganger here. The moment you try and get to your real power and lose, he will release me, and we will take our revenge. If you win, I will still try and get free, and if I do, I would gladly take my time eating your flesh and drinking your blood. Now go. And Naruto was forced out of his mind. Naruto blinked and woke up in his bed, but he found as he started to get up that there was something wrong. He did not remember there being a man standing at the foot of his bed looking at him. Naruto asked, who are you and why are you in my room? As he reached under his pillow grabbing a kunai he kept there secretly. The man said, my name is Yamato. The Hokage told me to come and help you with your bloodline. Naruto let go of the kunai and said, I thought I was supposed to meet you after meeting my team. Not at 5 a.m. As he looked at the clock, Yamato said, get dressed and I will tell you a jutsu that will let us do both. As he left the room, Naruto blinked and thought, okay, new jutsu and him knowing about my bloodline. Time to get dressed. As he quickly got up and got ready for the day. After he got dressed for the day, he walked into his kitchen and saw a plate of food sitting there and Yamato across from it with another plate eating. Naruto quickly sat down and started to eat bacon and eggs with a glass of orange juice. Yamato said, okay, while you eat I will give you a heads up. I know everything including who your parents and sister are. Relax. I'm one of the Hokage's most trusted ANBU and have watched you a few times in your life, and I don't think ill of you and will keep your secrets. As a sign of trust, one will tell you mine. I have your bloodline also, but I was not born with it. An S-rank missing nin named Orochimaru, who was one of the Sanins, gave it to me by stealing DNA from the Shodaime Hokage while I was an infant like you were when your father put Kyuubi in you. I know a total of 10 jutsu for this bloodline, but you can do a lot more than that with this bloodline. The Shodaime only left 4 on record and I will teach you those 4. The other 6 I created with time and practice and are my personal jutsu. I want to teach you them because I don't want you to rely on them. I want you to create your own. When you have created a total of 10 for your bloodline, then we will trade 1 jutsu each, so that way you can help restore your clan jutsu as well as allow me something out of this deal for helping you, since I had no one to help me with this bloodline. Deal. Naruto thought a second and said, deal, Yamato-sensei. Yamato smiled and said, just call me Yamato. You can't tell anyone what I have told you, and you can't call me sensei or tell anyone I am training you, because they will be able to tell you have this bloodline. I will also help you with controlling Kyuubi chakra. Now let's begin since you are done eating. Did you get to read what exactly the Kage Bunshin Jutsu does? Naruto said it makes a clone. Yamato laughed and said it does more than that. Create one and I will show you what I mean. Naruto created one and Yamato got up and walked over to it and said, Sasuke better than you. And stabbed the clone, making it go up in smoke. Naruto said, I'm better than Sasuke. Yamato asked, how did you know what I said to your clone? Naruto said, because how did I know what you said? As he scratched his head, Yamato said, that's one of the secrets of Kage Bunshin. When it is dispelled or destroyed, you get all the information it gained. It will help us do a lot of training in a short amount of time, and also allow you to meet Eugenin team as well as come with me to train. Create another one and let's go. Naruto smiled as he heard what Kage Bunshin can do and quickly made one and sent it to the academy even though it was only 5:30 am. Sakura had been woken up at 5 am by her mom, and her mom was not wearing her normal dress but an outfit that looked like a jounin outfit without the vest on, all decked out in black except she had some weird looking white bandages on her arms and legs that were not for binding. She tossed a bundle on the foot of Sakura's bed and said, "Put those on. I know you are going to hate me, but I gave you my old weight set. Weights will not only help you with your chakra reserves making them bigger but also your speed and strength. When you get dressed, come eat breakfast." As she left to go downstairs, Sakura got up and saw her mom had given her a new set of cloths but also a set of those white bandages. Sakura quickly got ready and put the bandages on just like her mother, and went downstairs. When she got there, her mom was eating and Sakura joined her. They ate silently for a few minutes and then when they finished, Kushina said, "Okay, I'm sure you're wondering what those white bandages are. They are the weights I told you about. They're called demon weights in Whirlpool. Channel about half of your chakra into them, dear." Sakura was confused but did and suddenly felt heavy, and her mom said, "Okay, you just set them to your body weight. They have special seals on them that will make it drain your chakra of 2% every 5 seconds. Your body will be forced to start making chakra faster and faster. With just these weights on, you will triple your chakra supply in a week's time at first. Be careful with your training and make sure you stop before you run out of chakra or turn them off, because if you pass out from chakra exhaustion with these on, and you don't turn them off or someone turns them off for you, you will die. That is why they are called demon weights, because if you are not careful they will kill you like a demon would. I am sure you noticed they also got heavier. These weights will start off at 10% of your body weight, so since you weigh 110 pounds, your weights now weigh 11 pounds each. Once you get used to wearing that amount of weights, then you will have to buy some new ones. I would suggest go up 10 pounds each limb every time you need to go up, so that way your demon weights will only go up a little more also. Now I want you to do these hand signs, dear." Kushina started doing 5 hand signs slowly and Sakura followed, and Kushina said while holding the last one, "When you do the last sign of Hibi, you must think of what you want your cloths to look like. This genjutsu is called Dater's Desire. It's a genjutsu that was first made by a friend of mine when she wanted to get ready for a date but did not have time to get home to change. The best part is the Sharingan can't see through it because it's such a low-level one that it can't tell the difference between the genjutsu and a person in normal cloths. I don't care if you show your outfit you have on, but the genjutsu is to cover the weights. If people found out about those, they would try and take them from you to learn the secret, since no one here has ever seen them. Those are only given to Chunin or higher in Whirlpool who have made it through 5 years of service. Besides that, they were a village's secret." Sakura nods and said, "Why do I got the feeling my life is going to be filled with that word from now on?" "Secrets," Kushina said for a while. "Yes. Now that we have both done the genjutsu, and you have your weights and I have mine, let's start out with endurance. I want you to start running and don't stop. Keep track of how many times you make it around the village as well as how long you can run, and also use chakra to help in your speed as well as run your chakra out faster. Tomorrow you will do the same, but try and go 10 minutes longer, and at least 2 laps more. Each day you need to go longer and faster. You will be tired before you have to get to the academy at 8. I am also going to do it, but I will be going faster most likely, so you may see me a few times, but don't talk. Every time you feel like you're tired, keep going. Fatigue will be your new best friend. Oh, and before I forget, if you need to turn those weights off, just wipe a little blood across the seal on the end of the one on your left arm. It will shut all of them off. If you don't pass out, then wait 20 minutes to restore your chakra and just send a little chakra back into them to start using them again. I want you to get to where you only take them off if you're going to shower. See ya." And she ran out the door fast. Sakura was stunned and said, "Whoa." As she went outside and locked up the house before leaving to run, Naruto and Yamato, after leaving his apartment, went to a shop called the Wolf Claw Weapon Shop and entered it. Even though it was 6 am by now, shops open early around 4 am in case Ninja needed to resupply before leaving town. Naruto asked, "So what are we doing here?" Yamato said, "We are here to get you some supplies to help with your training, but to also get you some new cloths that don't scream kill me." Naruto looked down and nodded as they walked in. When they made it inside, Naruto expected to hear yelling or telling him to leave, but when neither happened, he looked up and saw a girl about a year older than him sitting at the counter, and she smiled and said, "Help yourself, and if you need anything just ask." Naruto looked at Yamato, who said, "Go ahead and get what you need. No orange, and don't worry about the bill. The Hokage is handling it." Naruto nods and starts looking for supplies, and with a little help from Yamato soon finds some black shinobi-style pants along built and weapon holsters. He also got some black shirts along with built and body armor. He also found a black leather jacket that had 2 pockets on each side with metal buttons and had padding on the shoulders, and it had a kanji on the back of it, but the kanji said life and death. After he remembered his dream, he decided to get it also. As he continued around the store, he saw a sign that said free sword to any who can open it. The sword was something he had never seen before. It was solid blue. He picked it up and pulled it out of the sheath. He saw that it was solid blue as well. Now I am not saying it was your normal blue. Now it was sky blue. The kind you see when it's a perfect day outside. The sheath was the same as the sword, however there was a design on it. The design was that of a mountain with snow on the top of it, and a single bonsai tree sitting on top of the mountain with the sun in the background looking like it was setting. The hilt of the sword was wood, however the wood felt different. Like it was made of metal but light as wood, and it had a design of a blindfolded woman holding a weight scale in her hand. Naruto asked, "Excuse me, but is this sign for real? Is this sword really free if you can open it?" Yamato, who had went to get some weights, looked over at Naruto, and the girl behind the counter looked like she seen a ghost as Naruto had the sword opened and said, "Dad, come here fast." Naruto was scared that he did something wrong and said, "I'm sorry. I hope I did not do anything wrong. I will put it back." As he put the sword back on the stand just as a brown-haired man walked into the room, the man said, "What is it, Tenten? Why did you scream like that?" Tenten said, "The sword." He opened it, pointing to the sword behind Naruto, who looked scared. The man looked at Naruto and knew who he was and did not hate the boy because he believed in the Yondaime since they were friends, and he knew Tenten would not lie about something like that, so he said, "Boy, open the sword." And his voice had no emotions in them. Yamato knew the man and saw Naruto was nervous, so he said, "It's alright, Naruto." Naruto nods and walks back and picks the sword up and pulls on it, and it opens, and the man said, "Who are you, boy? And don't say Naruto Uzumaki. I know that name, but I also know that's not entirely correct." Yamato said, "I'm sorry, sir, what are you talking about?" The man said, "Name's Dustin. I own this shop. Now I want to know, how can that boy open a sword that only someone related to the Yondaime should be able to open? I designed that sword for the Yondaime 2 months before the Kyuubi attacked, and it was to be a gift for a relative, so I want to know how he can open that sword. The seal on it should make it where he should not unless he was related to Minato, so I ask again. Who are you?" Naruto looked at Dustin and then at Yamato, and he said, "It's your choice." Tenten said, "I say he's his son. Take away the Kyuubi whiskers and he would be a mini Yondaime dad." Naruto flinched, and Dustin looked at his daughter and said, "How do you know about that?" Tenten asked, "Know about what?" Yamato asked, "Know about the Kyuubi." Tenten said, "Well, I thought it was common knowledge the way the two guys were talking about it. A couple of ninja came in last night and said that the Kyuubi brat had gone to farthest time, and that they were going to finish what the Yondaime started. They said something about a scroll and revenge. A few moments later I heard someone else saying they had to find Naruto Uzumaki along with the scroll. I just put those two pieces together, and when Dad said his name I figured he was the Kyuubi kid they were talking about, but I don't really understand it." Naruto sighed and said in a dead tone, "The night Kyuubi attacked was the same night I was born. My father, the Yondaime, sealed Kyuubi and me to save the village. He asked that I be seen as a hero, but everyone sees me as the Kyuubi. Until last night I did not know about my dad or the fact that I had Kyuubi in me. I'm ready to go when you are." As he put the sword away and walks toward the front of the store, leaving his stuff where it was also, Dustin said, "Wait. You forgot your stuff." Naruto said, "It doesn't matter. No matter what, all anyone will ever see me as is the Kyuubi." And he walked out of the store and took off running. Tenten asked what was that all about. Yamato said, "I need to go check on him. Sorry for any inconvenience. Can you put all this together, and I will come pick it up later?" As he set Naruto's stuff along with the weights he picked up on the counter, Dustin nods and Yamato left with Leaf Shushin. Tenten asked, "What's wrong, Dad?" Dustin sighed and said, "That boy has had a bad life. Have you noticed how every year our weapon sales goes up around October 10th? It's because people want to be ready, so if they can find him they can kill him. I tried to make it where they can't get the weapons by making us a ninja-only store so civilians can't get the weapons, but that was all I could do, and when I did that it also made it where he could not come in here to get supplies himself. The orange cloths he has on is because they want to be able to find and hurt him. We can't afford to hurt our customer relations by closing, so even though I can tell which ones are getting supplies for supplies and which ones are to hurt him, I can't do much but give the Hokage a list of their names. Nobody who did not already know was supposed to know about the Kyuubi and the ceiling. Like he said, even he did not know until last night, so his whole life people have abused and tried to kill him, and he never even knew why. I guess when you were talking about it so normally along with him just finding out about it made it a sensitive subject." Tenten was stunned and said, "But why can't people tell that he and the Kyuubi are different? I mean, even I know the difference between a sealed item and one that's not. You can't kill someone with a scroll that has kunais in them. Even if you unseal them it would still be two separate things." Dustin said, "That makes you smarter than most of the village. I honestly believe that they know the truth also, and only see him that way because they know that when he dies Kyuubi dies, so they want to make it suffer, but all they hurt is the boy instead." Tenten said, "I wish I could apologize to him. I did not mean to hurt him." Dustin thought for a moment, and said, "Since you are off today from missions, why don't you go and talk to him?" Tenten said, "But I don't know where he is." Dustin smiled and said, "I do. On top of the Yondaime head. Ironic, all this time he's been sitting on his dad's head." Tenten smiled and left to find Naruto. Yamato was not happy. Not happy at all. He had left to stop Naruto, and as soon as he was about to catch him, Naruto created 150 Kagebunshin, and they all stormed in different directions. So here he was now going one by one, destroying each clone to find the real one while telling him to stop. Sakura, when she was running around the village, suddenly saw a sea of orange burst out of the city, and saw clones of Naruto running everywhere. She stopped her running and tried to talk to one of them, and after noticing how upset he was, she tried to find the real one the only way she could. Search and destroy. Kushina had caught one of her son's clones, and by using a genjutsu she was able to make him stop. After dispelling the genjutsu, she was able to get the clone to spill its guts and found out what was wrong. The third Hokage was inside Naruto's apartment with Kakashi when they saw the clones and said, "I wonder what Yamato got him doing." Kakashi looked at the third and asked, "What do you mean?" The third said, "Last night Naruto accidentally tapped into Kyuubi chakra when he became pissed at Mizuki for lying to him and also for trying to kill Irika. I got Yamato working with him right now learning to suppress the Kyuubi chakra. He sent a cage bunch into the academy to be with the other students, so don't be upset about it. If the clone's not there, someone destroyed it, and I will make sure he's there for your belt test tomorrow. After your team practices for a while, I am going to have Yamato help him with that until he can use it only when he wants to and not on an accident. After all, you can't fail this team even if you want to." Kakashi said, "Sounds like a good idea." Sensei Seo was supposed to make sure the boy could use it. Having the only person in the village who can suppress it help him should help. I still don't like the fact the council is wanting me to work with the Uchiha more than the others, as well as making it where I can't fail them. Is he going to teach him anything else? The third said, "Maybe chakra control, but nothing you should worry about. Try the best you can to humble the Uchiha, and don't forget that you do have 2 other students." The third said, "I'm sure he will." Sakura sighed and headed to the academy. Hopefully her brother would be there, and she could get some answers. Naruto was sitting on top of the Hokage mountain when Tenten made it there. She said hey, to let Naruto know she was there. Naruto looked at her and said hi. As he looked back across the village, Tenten asked, "Mind if I sit beside you?" Naruto said, "Go ahead. It's free to whoever wants it." Tenten smiled and sat down and said, "Look, I'm sorry about earlier. I can tell the difference between an item sealed and the item it is sealed into, so I don't hate you. So you want to talk about it?" Naruto sighed and said, "I don't know." Tenten grabbed his hand as she saw him look down and said, "Relax, it sometimes helps to have someone talk to. I promise I won't tell anyone anything you say." Naruto sighed and said, "Alright, but you can't tell anyone about what I tell you. I need to talk to someone because I feel like I'm going to explode." Tenten squeezed his hand and he said, "Until last night I believed I was an only child and an orphan. I was hated and never knew why. Then last night I found out why I was hated. Found out that I am not an orphan as I first thought. Found out I have a twin sister who I have seen almost all my life and never even knew she was my sister, and I even thought I had a crush on her, but now I guess it's like my emotions always told me she was related to me. Found out I am related to 3 of the 4 heads up here, as well a grandmother that is somewhere in the world and have a bloodline. Now I can't even acknowledge I have a family until my grandmother comes back to the village and runs a blood test to prove I am related to her along with my sister. Then I will be forced to find 2 women to marry just to satisfy some stupid law that will make it where I can be with my family. It's like someone decided to just kick the shit out of me." As he leaned back onto the ground with his left hand behind his head with his right hand laying flat on the ground after he freed it from Tenten's hand. Tenten listened and thought about what he said, and her eyes got wide for a moment as she pieced it all together and said, "So let me get this straight. You are related to the Shodame, Nidame, Yandame Hokage of Konoha along with Tsunade-sama of the Sanins and have a bloodline and a twin sister. Add that to the fact your dad sealed the fox. Damn, that is a lot to take in." As she laid back also so she was not looking down at him, and she also was getting a headache. She wound up laying on his arm. Tenten asked, "So what bloodline do you have?" Naruto sighed and closed his eyes and said, "I can do something with wood. I don't really know what it does yet, but I am supposed to be learning today how to use it." Tenten said, "So you have the Shodame bloodline? That's cool." Naruto looked at her and asked, "How do you know so much about them?" Tenten said, "It's funny actually. I want to be a famous female ninja like my idol Tsunade-sama, so I have studied about her family." Naruto sighed and said, "Then you probably know more about my family than I do." Tenten saw how sad he looked, and she put her hand on his face after he looked away and pulled him back to look at her, and said, "You need to brighten up. You don't look good when you're sad." Naruto smiled and looked into her eyes and said, "You're the first person to tell me I look good ever." Tenten, still looking into his eyes, slowly leaned forward, and he slowly leaned forward. "Sakura has just walked into class and Irika said it's good to see you're finally here, Sakura. Take a seat." Sakura looked and saw Naruto sitting in the back of class and was about to walk up to him and find out what was wrong when he looked at her and asked, "Hey, Sakura-chan. Do all women's lips taste like strawberry and cream?" Everyone looked at him and Sakura said, "Not that I know." "Why?" Naruto scratched his head and said, "Okay, thanks. CYA." And went up in a puff of smoke. Ino looked at Sakura and said, "What was that about, and how did he disappear like that?" Sakura sighed and said, "I don't know." Irika sighed and said that class was Kagebunshin. Now, as I was saying, Team 7 is Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke. I will tell Naruto later. When Tenten pulled away and Naruto's eyes were looking at her with a glossed over look from receiving all the info from what was left of his clones because he lost all concentration, though Tenten thought it was because he was floored by the kiss. Truthfully, she was also. Naruto's eyes returned to normal, and he tried to move his lips to say something when Tenten seemed to realize what she did, and quickly jumped to her feet and said, "I'm sorry." Naruto acted on instinct, and jumped up as well and put his lips on hers. Forget the fact that he had no idea what came over him. Ancient instincts took over and he pulled her closer to him. Tenten for her part was shocked at first by his action but felt the emotions from the kiss going through her, and she was in heaven. Never had she experienced anything like this, so she put her arms around him and acted on impulse, slid her hands up inside his shirt and jacket, and felt his back underneath his cloths. Naruto put both of his hands on the small of her back and with closed eyes just enjoyed the moment. He slowly pulled back from the kiss and she groaned and slowly opened her eyes looking into his, and he blinked and then his brain caught up and he jumped backwards and said, "I'm sorry, Tenten put her finger to his lips and smiled and said, "I know. You don't know what came over you. It was the same for me when I first kissed you. I felt the need to touch your lips with mine." "Have you ever? Was that your first kiss?" Naruto said. "Yeah." Tenten smiled and said, "Mine also." "Look, I'm not the type of girl who just goes around kissing some stranger after just meeting him, so how about we introduce ourselves and get to know each other? I'm Tenten." Naruto saw her stick out her hand and he took her hand and said, "Nice to meet you. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I can't use my last name yet, but it's Namikaze." Tenten said, "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." "So tell me. You come up here often?" Naruto said. "Yeah. I find it peaceful up here looking down over the village. It makes me feel like my dream is coming true. I dream to be Hokage. I want to be the greatest Hokage ever and surpass all that came before me." As he looked over the edge of the cliff and looked at the village, Tenten smiled as she looked at him and said, "Well, it's almost like you were born to be one if you think about it. Your dad stopped Kyuubi. You will kill it. The first and second Hokage used their bloodlines to create the village in the first place. If you can learn to be better than they were, the future would be forever yours." Naruto looked at her and asked why. Tenten did not understand and asked why what. Naruto said, "Why did you come up here? Why are you not scared of me? Why are you so accepting and even support my dream?" Tenten sighed and said, "My mother died giving birth to me. My dad was a ninja until near the end of the last Great War. He was injured and nearly lost his leg but was able to save it, but his ninja career was over. My father went into depression and nearly took his life. A man came to him and gave him a new dream, a dream to be the best blacksmith in the world. My father learned everything he could about being a blacksmith and soon developed new ways to make weapons. I know how important a dream is to someone. It's the same for me. My dream is to be a great ninja and prove females can be just as good as males. That's why I believe in your dream. As for why I don't hate you, you have caused me no harm and all I see is someone who gets blamed for things that's not his fault. As for the reason I came up here, I wanted to apologize. I did not know what it was like for you and I only had bits and pieces before Dad explained things to me." Naruto smiled and said, "Thank you." Tenten smiled and said, "No problem, but can I ask why you taste like ramen?" Naruto said, "Probably the same reason you taste of strawberries and cream." They both laughed, and suddenly a puffing sound was heard and there was Yamato, and he said, "Found you, Naruto. I have been looking everywhere for you. I'm surprised you found him so soon." Tenten, was it? Tenten said yes. Yamato said, "Anyways, we still have a lot of things to do today, Naruto, and we need to get your supplies. Do you want me to bring you back to your family store also, Tenten?" Tenten said no. "I got something I got to do first." Yamato nodded and Naruto said, "I hope to see you again, Tenchan." Tenten said, "Sure, Naruto-kun. Come by when you get a chance or need supplies." Yamato placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder, and they both left in a swirl of leaves. Tenten sighed after they were gone and said, "It's not nice spying on people." As she turned to look toward the woods, a woman stepped out of the woods and said, "I'm surprised you were able to detect me. I thought I suppressed my chakra signature enough." Tenten said, "I have a teammate that can't use chakra. I have had to learn to be able to detect even the smallest amounts to be able to dodge his attacks. Now tell me who you are and why are you here?" As she reaches for a kunai she keeps hidden on her, the woman smiled and said, "I'm just a concerned villager. I want to make sure you realize what you're getting yourself into with that one." Tenten turned red, but not from embarrassment but anger, and said, "What is that supposed to mean?" As she narrowed her eyes, the woman said, "Oh, I just mean if you decide to have a relationship with that boy you might start being called demon, whore and slut, and other friendly things like that. I would hate to see a nice girl like you ruin her life with the plague of the village." Tenten gritted her teeth and said, "My personal life is none of your concern, lady. If I want to be with him, not you or anyone else can make me change my mind." The woman said, "Well, I just wanted to warn you. I mean, not everyone would be as nice as I am about it. I'm sure you know all about his condition and all, and I am sure that you have no problem with people hating not only you but your family as well. Most places won't even sell you food or cloths if they find out. Make sure he's worth it to you before you go with him. Take care of yourself." As she walked away, Tenten sneered at the woman as she walked away and said, "Bitch." As she looked back at the village one last time and then took off for her family shop. Naruto and Yamato arrived back at the weapon shop and entered, and Dustin looked at them and said, "Welcome back. Was Tenten able to find you?" Naruto turned red and said, "Yeah, she found me." Dustin gave Naruto a curious eye at the blush and said, "Do you know where she is at right now?" Yamato said she will be here shortly. She said she had something to deal with first. Dustin nods and said, "Anyways, what can I help you with?" Yamato asked, "Do you still have those things I left, or did you put them back?" Dustin reached under the counter and pulled out a scroll and said it's all in here including the sword since his father had it made for him. Yamato sighed and said you're on your own on the sword, kid. I am just helping you with the chakra control and a few other things. Naruto scratched his head and said what's the big deal about learning to use a sword, you just swing and cut, right? As he scratched his head, Dustin locked eyes on Naruto and blasted him with Ki and said boy, you say that again and you are going to have a problem. A sword is an extension of you. You must take just as much care of your sword as you do yourself. Think of it as a living being. If you just swing it madly it will be just like a baby that nobody cares for that can't walk. Sooner or later it will die, and since the sword is a part of you that means you die. However, if you learn to use it correctly and become a swordsman then it is like a person who has become Hokage. Unstoppable. If you want to learn to use your sword I can help you. Naruto said really, you would teach me? Dustin said yeah, if you got time in your training? I was the second best swordsman in this village before I got hurt. My best friend is the first. What's your training schedule like? Yamato said starting after tomorrow if he passes Kakashi teamwork test then he will meet with his team at most likely 8 so I say until 1 he will have team practice. From 2 to 5. I am teaching him chakra control and some other stuff the Hokage wants me to help him with. The rest of the time is his. Dustin nods and said what time do you get up boy? Naruto said usually around 7, why? Dustin said I want you if you want me to teach you here at 530 every afternoon that you don't have mission. I have a training ground behind the shop here. We will practice from 530 until I think you are done for the day. I won't go easy on you and you will wish you were dead but you will be stronger for it. Naruto said I will do it. Dustin walked over to the weights section and got 4 other mini weights and came back and said take these weights also. I don't want you to take these off. These are 25-pound weights. That are for your arms and feet. I know you got some chakra weights also but those are for your whole body. These are to help increase your arm and leg strength to help with your sword skills. Is that all you both need today? Naruto asked how do I get the stuff out of the scroll? Dustin sighed and reached under his counter and pulled out a book and said this book tells all about sealing and how to unseal also. Read it. Naruto nods and Yamato gives the letter the Hokage gave him so Dustin can build the Hokage. As they turned to leave Tenten walked in and Naruto smiled at her and said hey Tenchan. Tenten smiles as she sees Naruto and thinks about how pissed she was at that woman for what she said and said hey Naruto-kun. About earlier. I enjoyed talking to you and we need to do it again sometime. Dustin smiled and said don't worry, you will get plenty of time talking to my apprentice Tenten. Tenten blinked and asked apprentice. As she looked at her dad and Naruto. Naruto said yeah, from 530 every day I am going to be learning how to use my sword correctly starting tomorrow, right? As he looked at Dustin who nods his head yes, Tenten said well then that's good. I guess I will see you later. As she walked by him over to help her dad who was putting out more stuff to replace what was sold, Naruto said CYE Tenchan. As he left with Yamato, Dustin waited until they were gone and said so, I take it you got a new crush huh? Tired of Niji always turning you down and ignoring you? Tenten asked what do you mean? As she had her back to her dad trying to hide her blush, Dustin said oh, I mean I just mentioned your name and the boy turns as bright red as you are now dear. You are old enough to make your own decision dear but make sure that you are happy with what you do. As he turned and started to walk toward the back of the store but stopped and said oh, and by the way, next time you and him lay on the ground together you might want to get the dirt off of your back and remove the lipstick from his lips. People might start talking. And he laughs as he leaves Tenten who is blushing so bad that it makes Hinata at her worst look like Orochimaru's skin color. Yamato and Naruto arrived in the Forest of Death and Naruto asked where are we? Yamato said this is a secret training ground that nobody comes to. It is where I will be training you in your bloodline. The first thing I want you to do is put on your cloths and weights. Just open the scroll and channel a little chakra into each of the sealed items. Naruto opened the scroll and saw that each item was listed individually, and so he unsealed his new cloths as well as the weights. The weights were a black suit that stretched and covered his entire body like body armor. He also put on his new cloths and the weights Dustin just gave him. Naruto said I thought this suit would be heavy but it's not. The arm weights are a little heavy but not bad. What's next? Yamato said first things first. See this leaf I am holding? Now watch. As he channeled a little chakra and the leaf started to float a few inches above his hand. Naruto was wide-eyed and Yamato said the secret to this is to lift the leaf with your chakra. Too much and it blows away. Too little and it won't do anything. Now I want you to create as many cage bunshin as you can and have them work on this. Naruto nods and moments later there are around 200 cage bunshin. They all start grabbing leaves that are on the ground and begin working. When Naruto starts to reach for one, Yamato said stop Naruto, you clones are working on chakra control while you are going to work on getting used to the weights. Naruto blinks and asked what do you mean? I got them on and I am used to them. Yamato got a gleam in his eye and said no, you just have not set the weights yet. You see that seal on your left arm? Naruto looked at it and nodded and Yamato said okay, to turn it on all you have to do is channel chakra into it. The more chakra you put in it the heavier it gets. Put a small amount in it. Naruto nods but a kitsune in its cage decided to get some fun and sent some of its chakra. Naruto was suddenly on the floor with a huge crater, and Yamato walked over and saw that it was on 200 pounds each, and he sighed and said, "You have over 1,000 pounds on now, Naruto. 200 each arm, 200 each leg, and 200 on the main part of the body since it's a full body suit. You can't adjust the weights for at least an hour, so you might as well just sit there and suffer for putting too much chakra. While you're doing that, I will begin telling you about plants." Naruto, who was face first in the ground, could only listen to the boring speech Yamato was giving him about root and tree and plant. Deciding to try and get up, he puts his hands on the ground and tries to get up on his knees. Naruto continued to do this and got himself off of the ground enough to make it where he could sit on his arms and legs, but he was sweating badly. Yamato, who had watched him while he continued to get just a little bit higher each time before falling again, could not believe that he was doing that. Sure, he knew Naruto had a lot of energy and stamina, but he had only planned on having Naruto start with at most 50 each and work up from there. Once he finished with his speech about how plants are alive and the different parts of a plant, just watched him. He had already seen that the clones were getting the hang of the leaf exercise. When Naruto finally made it onto all four, Yamato saw that Naruto was getting used to it and figured the fox had something to do with it. Since an hour had already passed, he decided to cancel it for today and walked over and tapped the release seal on the suit. Naruto, who was still pushing, was suddenly blown 20 feet into the air before he landed with a thud. Yamato shook his head and said, "I'm impressed, Naruto. Now I want you to dispel your cage bunchen and try controlling your chakra again, but this time I want you to only set them at 100 each. Look at the seal as you apply chakra. You will see a number appear under it. That's how you tell what your weights are at." Naruto, after resting a moment and dusting himself off, dispelled the clones and got the head rush from the information. After a few seconds he blinked and said, "I know how to do that leaf exercise now." Yamato said, "Good. That was an easy exercise anyways. Now do the weights." Naruto looked at the weights and set them up to 100 pounds, making it 500 pounds total. Yamato saw that and said, "Good. Now show me the leaf exercise I showed you." Naruto nods and walks over, and though he feels a little heavy, it's not like it was, so he can still move. He picks up a leaf and makes it float an inch above his hand, and Yamato nods and said, "Okay, that's good. It looks like it's about noon. Your sensei should be at the academy soon, so I will show you one more thing you can work on the rest of the day after you meet your sensei. This is called tree climbing." As he walked up the side of the tree without hands, showing Naruto, who was wide-eyed. Yamato saw this and pulled out a scroll and unsealed a stick of dango and handed it to Naruto, who started to eat it and said, "It's the same thing as the leaf exercise. Too much and you blow off, too little and you fall off. I want you to work on it the rest of the day, and I also want you to go to the library and start reading any books you can find on plants and flowers." Naruto blinked and asked, "Why do I need chakra control and read books on plants and flowers?" Yamato sighed and said, "Okay. Do you understand what your bloodline actually does, Naruto?" Naruto said something about wood. Yamato slapped his head and said yes and no. "You see, what it does is allow you to control plants. Grass, trees, flowers, seeds, weeds, even the leaves and roots of plants. You can make them grow or shrink or do pretty much anything you want with a lot of practice and a lot more control as well as patience. Since I was not born with your bloodline, I can only do half of what you can, but you need more chakra control to do it. Chakra control also makes it where you have more energy and can last a lot longer. Do you get it?" Naruto blinked and said, "So it's not wood?" Yamato said, "Wood is a part of trees, so yes it is. Think about the whole picture. You see this forest we are in? If you were to fight someone here and used your bloodline, you could use the grass on the ground and the trees around you to attack your enemies along with a lot of other things. That means you have the advantage. Think about it as a farmer would a crop. Here you are the farmer, you choose which seeds to plant, where to plant, water it, make sure to take care of it, and when the time is right you have a whole garden of fruits and vegetables to eat. Do you understand now?" Naruto nods and said, "I get it. So if I read all the books on plants and understand how they work, my bloodline will make it where I can do more with them." "That's cool." Yamato nods and said, "Well, it's time to take you back to the academy since you dispelled all your clones earlier. Remember, don't take off your weights, and you might want to also unseal your sword so that way you can get used to the weight of it. Make sure your sister don't try and open it, because if she does, people will find out about her." Naruto nods and Yamato puts his hand on Naruto's shoulder, and they leave in a swirl of leaves only to appear outside the academy. Yamato leaves again right after that, and Naruto walks inside to where his class was. When he walked in, he saw Sakura and Sasuke sitting there, and Naruto said, "Hey." Sakura turned to look at him and said, "Where have you been, Naruto, and what was your problem earlier, and what's with the cloths?" Naruto said, "Well, a new friend helped me get some new supplies and a few other things. I know it's not like I need special training or anything, but it was nice to meet a few new people." As he sits down at a desk, Sakura looks at him taking in his new appearance and asks, "So what did you want to know if all women taste like strawberry and cream?" Naruto smiled and said, "Oh, nothing. Hey, Sakura-chan. If you're not busy later, can you help me look for something at the library later? My new friend told me I should take up a hobby and said gardening might be a good idea and told me to read up on it." Sakura, being the bookworm she is, figured out now that his new friend must be the person helping with his bloodline and said, "Maybe. It will depend on our new sensei." Naruto said, "I'm not worried, Kakashi-sensei won't be that bad from what I hear. He's going to give us a teamwork test tomorrow, Sakura blinked and said, "Are you sure?" Naruto said, "That's what I was told. I also got to learn to climb some trees later today also." Sasuke asked, "What kind of idiot does not know how to climb trees?" Naruto said, "I know how to climb trees normally. I need to learn to climb a tree with just my feet. It's a chakra control exercise. I bet I can do it on the walls to show you." And he walked over to the wall and tried to put one foot on, and after a few seconds took the next step and then the third, at which time he was completely off the ground and horizontal. Sakura was amazed and Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Naruto took the next step and his chakra fluctuated and he blew off and onto the floor about 5 feet away. He sighed and said, "Too much chakra and you blow off. Not enough, and you fall off." Sakura said, "That's pretty good, Naruto. Does it do anything else beside help your chakra control?" Kakashi, who had silently opened the door seeing Naruto do the exercise, said, "Actually yes. The more you do it, the larger your chakra reserves get." That was pretty impressive. "How long have you done the exercise so far?" Naruto said, "That was my first time. I was doing the leaf balancing earlier, and I got that down with the help of my Kagebunshin." Kakashi nods and said, "I'm impressed. Yamato, a good teacher to help you with your unique chakra problem. I'm Kakashi and I am your sensei. Meet me on the roof." And he left in a puff of smoke. Sakura helped Naruto up and they followed Sasuke up the stairs, and Naruto asked, "Hey Sasuke, do you like Sakura any? I heard since you're the last member of your clan you get to marry multiple women if that helps you out any, so are you interested in her?" Sasuke said, "Why would I be interested in a weak, pathetic fool like her?" As he walked faster, Naruto is pissed and he starts to walk up to hit him when Sakura grabs him and whispers, "He's not worth it, brother. I see that now. The whole time you were gone I tried to talk to him, and he's treated me like shit and ignored me, so I don't care what happens to him. I still can't believe I gave up my friendship with Ino for him." Naruto sighs and said, "We got to talk later, it's important." As they made it up the stairs and sees Kakashi reading a book and Sasuke brooding, they walk over and Kakashi said, "Now that everyone's here, why don't we introduce ourselves?" Sakura said, "Why don't you go first, Kakashi-sensei?" Kakashi said, "My name is Hataki Kakashi. I like many things and dislike many others. I have hobbies." "Okay, you next, Pinky." Sakura said, "My name is Sakura. I like Naruto, but not in a boyfriend way. I dislike some of the villagers and my dream is to be strong like the rest of my family." As she smiles, Naruto smiles at that, and Kakashi said, "Okay Blondie, your turn," while he wonders if Sakura knows Naruto's secrets since she likes him but hates some of the villagers. Naruto said, "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like a girl that tastes like strawberry and cream and dislike people who can't tell the difference between a weapon scroll and a weapon sealed in it. My dream is to surpass all the Hokages and to make my family proud of me, wherever or whoever they are." Kakashi said, "Okay, your turn, Duckbutt." While he thinks good analogy for yourself, Naruto, though it is a little too close to comfort if you don't want your teammates to know the truth. Sasuke said, "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I am an avenger. I don't have time for stupid weak people. Anyone who gets in my way of killing a certain someone I will kill." Kakashi sighed and said, "Okay, tomorrow at 5 a.m. meet me at the memorial stone and don't eat breakfast, or you will throw up." Naruto asked, "Are we doing a teamwork test?" Kakashi blinked and said, "We are doing a survival exercise that is for a team. CYA." And left in a swirl of leaves. Sasuke just HMPD and walked away. Once he was gone, Sakura looked at Naruto and said, "Okay, spill it." Naruto sighed and pulled out the scroll and unsealed the sword and said, "I picked up the only damn sword in the whole village that was made specifically for us. Only someone related to Dad can open this sword, and I did not know it when I opened it, so the man who is going to teach me how to use it and his daughter know about me being his son. The guy who is helping me with my bloodline said to make sure you don't open it or people will know about you. The old man told him all about us and Mom since he can use this bloodline, but I am not allowed to say how he can do it though." Sakura was stunned and slapped her forehead and asked, "How the hell did you just pick the only sword to reveal all that?" Naruto said, "I don't know. Come on, let's go to the library." As he got up and Sakura did as well. As they were making it through town, Sakura asked, "So who is this girl, the one who tastes like strawberries and cream you mentioned earlier, and is that lipstick on your lips?" Naruto quickly wiped his lips and Sakura got wide-eyed and said, "So you kissed some girl?" Naruto ignored Sakura as they had arrived at the library and walked in, and Naruto asked, "So how do we find what we're looking for?" "I never been at the library since I always got stopped before I made it inside." Sakura was stunned and clenched her fist hearing that. A woman walked up and said, "What can I help you with, dear, and who is this?" As she looked at Naruto and Sakura, Naruto was wide-eyed and Sakura had already figured out what her mom was doing and said, "Oh, this is my teammate Naruto. He came to read some books on plants. Someone told him to get a hobby of gardening, so he asked me to help him." Kushina said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Naruto. If you need any help just let me know and call me Kushina." Naruto also figured out what was going on since he felt people's eyes on him and said, "Thank you, Kushina-sama." Kushina frowned at the sama part but ignored it and said, "So you need some books on gardening, huh? Sakura dear, why don't you show him to the 200 to 400 book section? It pretty much all the books we have on gardening, but I got a few others I think might help, so I will get them, and I will also get those books you wanted me to get. I still don't know why you would want to learn to play shogi and go. I know they help with strategy and stuff like that, but you never liked them before." Maybe you should read them also, Naruto. As she turned to go and get some books, Sakura led Naruto to the section of the library her mom had told her about, and frowned when she saw a couple of people grabbing as many books off the shelf in those sections as they could and taking them away. Sakura said, well, it's not like you could read every book at once, right, Naruto? Naruto blinked and said, Sakura-chan, you're a genius. And then created 100 Kagebunshin, and they all grabbed a book and sat down and started to read. Sakura blinked and asked, why did you do that, Naruto? Naruto said, simple. Everything they learn I learn when I dispel them, so I can read all these books in a little while. With a smile on his face, Sakura was wide-eyed and asked, can I learn that jutsu? Naruto was about to say something when her mom walked up and said, here you go, dear. Oh, you can use Kagebunshin. Jounin comes in here every once in a while and uses them like you do, but since they use so much chakra, if you are not careful with them you could die. Sakura dear, don't learn that jutsu because I don't think you're strong enough for it. Sakura sighed and then got a smile on her face as she got a great idea and whispered, how many can you make, Naruto? Naruto said, last night I made around 1,000, why? Equally as quite. Sakura said loudly, too bad all those other books are gone, Naruto. I mean, you could use your Kagebunshin to read them, but it's probably a good thing though, since you could die from creating more. Suddenly the people who had took the books came back and started to put them back and left without really looking and avoiding all the clones. They all took a seat and looked over their books to see what Naruto would do. Naruto blinked and said, look, I guess I can after all, Sakura-chan. And created nearly 200 Kagebunshin, scaring the piss out of everyone, and the Kagebunshin grabbed not only the remaining books on gardening but also the books his mom brought, and handed one to Sakura, who looked at the title and saw it was basic medicine and looked at her mom, who nodded slightly and turned to go back to the counter to check out books. A few people got up and left after not seeing Naruto die. Naruto himself walked over to the counter and asked, do you have anything on sealing? I got a book on basic sealing from my sensei, but I want to learn more than that. Kushina looked at him and saw one of the other librarians look at her, and she said, yes we do. You see that section labeled shinobi only, check out that section. Naruto looked where she was pointing and nodded before walking over there. He saw the books and decided to make one big trip, so he created another 200 Kagebunshin, and they all picked up random books to start reading. The other librarian walked over and whispered, what are you doing, Kushina? Kushina said, look, we can't kick him out because we are a public library. If we do, he will sick the Hokage on us. He might kill himself with that jutsu if he's not careful, so we might as well help him so he will make even more Kagebunshin. If he reads everything in here, he won't be back again, so either way we will end up not having to deal with him, so let's just help him as much as possible. And either he will die or he will finish reading what he needs and be gone. The librarian thought of it a moment and said, I guess you're right. In fact, I got an idea to help him along. As she turns and walks to where Naruto is, Kushina watches her leave and channels chakra into her ears to listen. The librarian walks over to Naruto and said, you sure are getting a lot of reading done. Since you've never been in here before, why don't you make the most out of it and make as many Kagebunshin as you can and read as many books in here as you can. That way you either know everything and make sure you have it for later. Naruto said, thanks. I think I will. And he closes his eyes and said, mass Kagebunshin no jutsu. And suddenly the entire library is completely filled with Kagebunshin, who all grabs books and starts to read. There are even some falling out of the doors of the building, and this is a 3-story tall building with a hollowed out center, so you can look down from the second and third floor to the first. Kushina, who had heard what she said, was having to hold in her laughter at this as the other librarian comes back with a look that makes you wonder if she was just fucked silly. Sakura, who was reading a moment ago, was also wide-eyed and remembered what her mom told her about him having more chakra than the entire village, and suddenly realized she literally meant it. She grabbed a clone and whispered in its ear, was any of that Kyubi chakra or was that all yours? The clone said, all mine, but I used nearly all my chakra and I will have one hell of a headache later when I dispel them all. Sakura thought for a moment and said, hey, have each clone dispel itself when it finishes its book so you don't get swamped all at once. The clone blinked and went up in smoke, and suddenly all of them blinked and said, cool, Sakura-chan. I will. All at the same time. Sakura blinked and realized that it works both ways and realized that the Kagebunshin jutsu was perfect for Naruto. Over the next 5 hours, Naruto clones dispelled themselves one at a time, and Naruto was reading the book on basic sealing he was given. The more info he got, the more some stuff made sense. As the ones dispelled from the gardening section, he learned more about what plants were and started to understand what Yamato was truly speaking about. He thought, so my bloodline can control the main support of the plant like the trunk of the tree or the vines of the plants. Kushina looked at her coworker and saw her looking at the clock and knew what she had in mind. If Naruto was not out of the library in 5 minutes when it came time to close, she would call ABNU. Hearing her mumble it a few times, Kushina did not want to risk it, so she walked toward the back section away from everyone's sight except the clones, having already saw several times what happened with the information going to all, and said to one Naruto, I hate to do this, but the other librarian is waiting to have ABNU kick you out in a few minutes when we are supposed to close. Put all your books back and exit the building so she can't. Naruto clone disappeared, and soon they all sighed and went out of the building, dispelling as they walked out the door. To the people outside, it was like a tragedy of comedies was happening. Naruto walked out and goes up in smoke, making it look like the building was on fire or something. The real Naruto had made it outside within a few moments and sat down on the stairs because all the info was coming in and he couldn't take it anymore and passed out, and all the remaining clones went up in smoke. Sakura, who saw Naruto clones leaving, saw what time it was and soon followed, but stopped long enough to check out the book she was reading. When all of the clones suddenly went up at one time, she gasped and ran outside and saw Naruto passed out on the ground with his eyes fluttering. Sakura saw her mom walk out and the other librarian, who was looking on with a slight glint in her eyes. Suddenly an ABNU appeared and saw Naruto and asked information overload, making all three women look at him. The ABNU bent down and said, I will take him to his apartment and make sure he's okay. Sakura started to say something as the ABNU reached for him, but he said, don't worry, little lady. Remember, you have Kakashi teamwork test tomorrow. CYA. And left with Naruto in a swirl of leaves. Kushina was about to say something when the other librarian said, good riddance. I hope whatever whore had him would just die. As she turned to leave, Kushina cracked her knuckles wanting to do something, but Sakura beat her to the punch and said, don't talk about my teammate like that. For someone who works in a library, you sure are an idiot. As she turned and stormed off, the librarian looked at Kushina and said, you need to tell your daughter to stop defending that demon child. Anything she was going to say ended the moment the third walked up and said, hello Kushina. I hear Naruto was here earlier. Did he get everything he needed? Kushina said, I am not sure, sir. He read a lot of the books at one time, and an ABNU came and took him to his apartment from information overload, as he called it. The third said, I see. Go ahead and see your daughter. I want to have a word with your associate here. Kushina nods and turns to leave, but channels chakra into her ears to hear what is being said as she walks away. The third looked at the librarian and said, you're fired, Emily. Emily was wide-eyed and asked what, why. The third said, simple. I had 3 different jounins come to me today and told me all about your little plan to try and make Naruto kill himself by overusing the Kagebunshin jutsu. If it had worked, I would have had you killed for the murder of a leaf shinobi. Since it failed, I am not going to have you arrested for it, or the fact that you were breaking my law when I walked up, but I am firing you. Anyone who is as much of a biased idiot like you has no right to work for the village as an employee of the village. Come by the tower tomorrow and I will give you your pay, but if I hear about you trying to cause any trouble over this or trying to hurt Naruto for revenge, I will have you put in prison for the rest of your life after a visit with Ibiki and Anko. Emily sneered and said that demon should. She was suddenly silenced when an ABNU appeared and knocked her out, and the third nodded, and she was taken to Ibiki. The third sighed and thought, the more I see of the people of this village treating Naruto that way, the more I feel sick of them. About 20 minutes later, Naruto awoke and found himself in his apartment, and saw Yamato sitting across from him, and he asked, so how do you feel? Naruto closed his eyes and said, fine. When I was dispelling them slowly I was fine, but when they all started dispelling all at once it became too much to handle. Yamato nodded and said that's because they were all loaded with mass amounts of information. You could create the same number of clones and then dispel them while in a fight, and they won't do anything to you, but if they are used for training, the more info they have, the more dangerous it becomes. It's why the Hokage can't use them to do paperwork. I let you feel what it was like so that way you know to take the warning seriously. Now, did you get all the information on the plants from the library? Naruto said yes, I also got everything on sealing and a few strategy books as well. I read a bunch of fiction stories also. Moby Dick, Peter Pan, The Three Musketeers. I found them interesting, but I also learned a lot about history that I never knew. Yamato smiled and said that's good. Did you learn anything on medicine? Naruto scrunched his nose and said no, I thought since I had Kyuubi I did not need to learn about it. Yamato sighed and said okay, I want you to send at least 10 clones a day and concentrate on medicine, anatomy, psychology, and poisons. If you learn all you can about them, then you can take out an enemy faster. A punch to the face can slow an enemy down, but a punch to the throat can kill a man. If you know where to hit, you can take out more people faster. Tomorrow when you get up and meet your team for the test, I want you to work on tree climbing. Even after you get it down, keep working on it until Kakashi actually arrives. Every little bit will help. I did some grocery shopping for you and have filled your pantry and fridge, so eat. I know Kakashi told you not to, but you need your energy to train, so eat. I will come and get you at 2 tomorrow to start our training, so eat lunch and I will meet you at the library. Don't forget to keep your weights on. Naruto blinked and asked, I completely forgot about them. As he moved his arms to show Yamato, who raised an eyebrow. Yamato walked over and looked at the setting as saw they were right where Naruto had set them and said, when you get the tree climbing down, I want you to increase your weights by 10 so that way it will make it harder to continue. Every time you get the exercise down where you can make it up and down with no trouble, keep increasing your weights. I want to test something out tomorrow. Naruto nods and said sure. Do you want me to increase them now? Yamato said sure, but only 10 so that way you are actually increasing 50 pounds. I got to go. CYA. And he went up in a puff of smoke and Naruto realized he used Kagebunshin. Naruto went into the kitchen and found more food than he's ever had and smiled and started making a small dinner. He had read several cooking books, so he wanted to try them. After cooking, eating and getting ready for bed, he still had his body weights on, only taking them off to wash it while he showered and then put it back on. He stopped and thought, how much did I have on earlier? Having zeroed it out to wash it. Shrugging, he set it at 200 and found that it was a little heavy but not as bad as it was, so he just got into bed and went to sleep. Luckily his bed was already sitting on the floor or it would have broke from the extra weight. His last thought was of his day and a certain brown-haired girl. Sakura had walked home and was trying to find something to vent her anger on when her mom walked in with a smile on her face. That pissed Sakura off and Kushina said the third fired that bitch. Sakura blinked and asked what. Kushina said the third found out about what she tried to do today and fired her for attempted murder on a shinobi, as well as breaking his law. Sakura said good, she deserves to die for doing that to my brother. Still pissed, Kushina smiled softly and said I'm proud of you, Sakura. Causing Sakura to look at her mom. Continuing, Kushina said in one day you have already changed for the better after learning the truth about your brother. That makes me proud of you. Sakura sighed and said today I thought Naruto was going to kill Sasuke for what he said to me, though I kind of wished he did, but I stopped him. I think it's only fair I do the same for him. Kushina asked why would he do that. What did the Uchiha say? Sakura said when Naruto clone left the school for some reason after asking about woman tasting like strawberry and cream, it wound up being just me and Sasuke alone. I tried everything to get him to talk to me. When he did, he just insulted me and told me how useless I was. Then when Naruto arrived, Naruto tried to talk to Sasuke for me not knowing I was upset with him, and then he repeated to Naruto what he said to me. If it would have been earlier in the day, I would have let him kill Sasuke. Kushina giggled at the part of strawberry and cream but kept it to herself and said, well, I'm proud of both of you. Sakura smiled and said apparently Naruto picked up the only sword in the whole village that could only be opened by him, or me only, since it was made at Dad's request, and had some seal on it to make it where only blood relatives of the Yondaime could open it. He said the owner and his daughter know about Dad now. Kushina said well, that was eventful. I wonder what else your brother did today. Got new cloths, got a weapon and read half the library. Sakura said he learned something called leaf balancing and was starting tree climbing. Kushina nods and said okay, tomorrow work with your brother on tree climbing. Even after you get it down, keep working on it, and make sure to eat. All Jounin sensei in this village always give the same test. It's called the bell test, 2 bells 3 students. It's a teamwork test that makes you want to fight against each other, but you have to look past that and ignore your own ambition and work for the good of the team, not the good of the person, and they tell you not to eat. Who is your sensei? Sakura said Kakashi. Kushina smiled and said don't wear any revealing clothing. He's your dad's student, but he is also the second biggest pervert in the village. Tell your brother he's a pervert. Naruto will teach him a lesson. Sakura blinked and asked what do you mean, mom? Kushina looked at Sakura and asked you mean to tell me that you have not seen the jutsu your brother created? Sakura thought for a moment and said the only jutsu I have seen him do beside Kage Bunshin and Academy Jutsu is that sexy no jutsu. Kushina asked have you seen what happens when he uses it? Sakura thought for a moment and said almost all the guys fly back with nosebleeds and the girls beat the shit out of him, but there are a few exceptions. Why? Kushina said stop thinking of it from a woman's point of view and look at that jutsu from a ninja point of view. He has a jutsu that knocks men out, or momentarily distracts them. In that time he could kill them while they're knocked out or coordinate with someone to knock out an enemy. I admit that it's not the best jutsu in the world, but he came up with one that works on nearly all men. That's how he was able to knock out the Hokage and get the scroll when Mizuki tricked him, from what I was told. Sakura blinked and said so let me get this straight. Naruto jutsu is a good thing because it makes men perverts. Kushina said no, everyone is a pervert. It is just to what level they are willing to show it. Before today, if Sasuke would have walked up to you without a shirt on, what would you have done? Sakura thought a moment and turned red and said I see. Looks like Naruto had a great day today. He had lipstick on his lips today and said something about a girl tasting of strawberries and cream. Kushina said so you still have feelings for him if the blush is any indication. As for the kiss, with your brother, who can tell? Oh well, but you might want to get some rest. You have a busy day ahead of you tomorrow. Sakura nods and heads toward her room. The next morning Naruto got up and after eating and getting ready he was about to walk out the door but stopped and checked himself and said weird, it feels like I don't have any weights on. After checking the setting he decided to add some more to it. Having only paid half attention to what Yamato had said, he added 50 to the weights. He felt a little heavier, though he was only supposed to add 10 to make it 50 extra pounds, not 50 to make it 250 pounds more than what he already had on, which was 1,100 pounds, 200 pounds for body suit and 25 for the 2 wrist weights each and 25 for the 2 leg weights before the 250 was added to that. He made his way across town to where he was supposed to meet. As he was making it across town he saw 2 guys in green spandex running really fast and heard them shouting about the flames of youth. Shaking his head he continued to make it to the memorial stone. Sakura, after getting up, quickly got ready for the day and her mom was at the table, and after saying good morning they began to eat when Kushina said don't forget what I told you about those weights, dear. Sakura nods and asked when are you going to show me something else, mom? Kushina said when you get tree climbing done I want you to work on water walking. Same principle as tree climbing, but you will get wet instead of hitting the ground. Just like tree climbing, it will help your reserves go up fast, but don't try it until you can run up and down a tree nonstop for 2 hours at a time without getting tired. Right now I am mostly worried about your reserves, your stamina, and strength. After they get up to about Chunin level I will start teaching you other things. Sakura nods and finishes eating and quickly makes her way to where she is to meet her team. As she was walking into the field she hears someone cussing and she looks and sees her brother picking himself out of a crater. She raises an eyebrow but says nothing about it. She sees Sasuke sitting against the stump brooding so she ignores him and walks to Naruto and asks, so how do we do this tree climbing Aegean? Naruto said okay, what you do is run at the tree and try to stick to much chakra and you blow off like I did and to little and you fall off and don't stick. Sakura asked, are you going to use your cage bunshin to help you? Naruto said yeah, I was just trying it on my own first before I started with them to see how hard it was. It's pretty hard but I will get it. Are you going to try it? Sakura said yeah I am. Hey Sasuke, you want to try it also? Sasuke humped and said no. Sakura shrugs and said well let's get to it. And starts running up the tree and soon makes it all the way up to the top but then she feels lightheaded and falls. Naruto sees her falling and creates 20 cage bunshins and they make a pile for her to land on. Naruto runs over to her as the smoke clears and asks are you alright? Sakura said yeah, I made it to the top but I was out of chakra. I see now what mom said about my reserves being low. Naruto smiles and said well rest a few minutes Sakura. You did great. And he turned back toward the trees and closes his eyes and said mass shadow clone jutsu. And suddenly nearly 1,000 clones appeared. Naruto yelled let's climb these trees. And started running up the tree only to fall off after about 10 feet. Sakura saw his clones doing it also, and some getting more and some less. She said how are you going to tell if you are getting better or not? You should mark the tree somehow, maybe a kunai cut in the tree. Naruto blinked and said you heard her. And they all screamed yes and pulled out a kunai and got back to work. Sasuke was looking at it and was twitching. 3 hours later and several more attempts by Sakura making it all the way up and a little ways back down before falling off Kakashi finally arrives. Sakura was panting a little and Naruto and his clone army were still going strong. Kakashi one eye was visibly wide and said well, that's something you don't see every day. Sakura stopped and said hey Naruto, I forgot to tell you yesterday but Kakashi senses the second biggest pervert in the village. Naruto stops and said really, I know the old man is the biggest. I guess I will have to teach him to change his ways. Kakashi said well maybe later, right now we have a test to do. Why don't you get rid of your cage bunshins so we can do the test? Naruto said no, I will let them continue. I can do both at the same time. Besides, I don't feel like passing out Aegean. Kakashi sighs and pulls out 2 bells and said okay, the deal for this test is to get a bell from me. Sakura groans and said she was right. Kakashi asked what was that Sakura? Sakura said someone told me that everyone does the bell test. Got 2 bells and 3 teammates, you try and make us put our own needs in front of those of the mission. It's teamwork. Since I know this and I am sure Naruto knew this as well we pass. Sasuke would try and fight you and see how good he is and say he won't help us and yada yada yada. Mind if we get back to training? Kakashi's sweat dropped and Naruto said ready to work of tree climbing some more Sakura-kun. Sakura said sure Sasuke, you ready to try it with us? Sasuke looked at Kakashi and said no, I'm here to take this test. Sakura sighed and said we already passed the test. Stop being Mr. I'm better than you because I'm an Uchiha and train. If you got time to brood you got time to train. As she starts running up a tree and back about halfway down before she runs out of chakra, Kakashi said you pass? Meet here tomorrow at 8 and we will start missions. And leaves in a swirl of leaves. Sasuke turns and leaves as well but not before shooting both Naruto and Sakura a death look. Naruto sighs and said okay, I want all cage bunchins to line up in rows of 10 and then dispel 1 row at a time until you are all done. Sakura looked as they all did as told and saw Naruto's eyes gloss over and about halfway through she said stop. Making them all look at her. She said wait about 10 minutes and continue. Naruto looked like he was about to pass out Aegean. Naruto smiled and said thanks Sakura. Sakura asked so have you had any luck on your bloodline yet? Naruto said have not tried yet. Yamato said that I needed to get my control way better before I tried to use it. He also wanted me to learn about plants. Sakura thought for a moment, and said you should send a cage bunshin to Yamanka flower shop. They might be able to help you with any questions about plants you have. Naruto thought and said maybe later, after I learn a little more about my bloodline. Naruto sighed when his clones continued to disperse and Sakura looked at him, and asked how much info did you get from all those books yesterday? Naruto said a lot. Sakura smiled and asked so are you going to tell me who this woman is that tastes like strawberries and cream? Naruto smiled and said nope. As he got up and started to run toward the village as Sakura chased after him. They soon made it to the ramen stand and the old man said so Naruto, who is this? Sakura looked at him and said you were the one who told mom about Naruto, weren't you? The old man smiled and said I see your sister got the brains while you got the brawn, huh Naruto? Naruto said yeah though we are working on giving the other some of our strengths. So why did you not tell me about my family? I said it was my idea Naruto. I did not want to see you get hurt Aegean if your mom and sister did not accept you so I made dad promise not to tell you after he was sure of who you were. Naruto smiled and said thanks Sakura smiled to herself at the way Naruto and the owner and his daughter treated each other. She said so, what kind of ramen should I get? I never ate it before. All three looked at her and then at each other and then at her Aegean, and Naruto stammered, "You never ate ramen." Ayam looked at her dad, who was already slinging food in the kitchen like there was no tomorrow. Within a few moments a bowl of ramen was sitting in front of Sakura, who blinked and asked, "How did you make that so fast?" Ayam pointed to Naruto and said, "You have to be if you want to keep up with Naruto. Hurry up and try it." Sakura nods and breaks apart some chopsticks and takes one helping and slowly puts it in her mouth and starts to chew. Naruto, who had already started his bowl, kept eating, letting her have her privacy until her bowl slammed on the counter, making him look at it and see it empty, and he blinked while Ayam and their dad were both gapping. Sakura asked, "Can I have another? That was pretty good." 25 minutes later and 27 bowls of ramen. Naruto and Sakura left behind a very happy ramen stand owner. Naruto looked at Sakura and asked, "How the hell did you eat 13 bowls of ramen?" Sakura said honestly, "I don't know. For some reason, as soon as I tasted it, something inside of me snapped, and I could not get enough." As they continued, and Sakura blinked when Naruto walked up to the library and asked, "Why are we here, Naruto?" Naruto said, "I was told to read medical books as well as physiology and anatomy and poison, so that's why I am here." Sakura nods and follows him inside and see their mother, and Naruto looks around and asked what happened to the other woman. Sakura said she was fired for doing a bad job. "Don't worry about it." Kushina walked over and said, "It's good to see you both Aegeans so soon. How can I help you?" Naruto asked, "What have you been feeding Sakura? She almost beat me at eating ramen. I had 14 bowls and she had 13. Kushina sighed, shaking her head, and muttered, "Idiot ramen-loving Hokages," and said, surprised Sakura, "You should know better than eat like that. Anyways, what can I help you with?" Sakura said, "Anatomy, physiology, poison, and medical." Kushina blinked and saw Naruto nod and said, "Okay, it's in the section with the blue shelves to your right. That's all the civiline stuff we have. There is also a blue shelf in the shinobi-only section also." Naruto smiled and followed Sakura over to the civilian section, and after creating 60 shadow clones he walked over to the shinobi-only section and made 20 more while Sakura stayed in the regular section studying. Naruto had been reading for about 20 minutes when Yamato appeared beside him and asked, "Are you ready?" Naruto blinked and asked, "How did you know which was the real me?" Yamato said, "I can feel the fox's chakra in you, your clones don't have it. Let's go." And they both left in a swirl of leaves after Yamato put his hand on Naruto. Sakura looked at a clone beside her and asked, "So where is Naruto at?" The clone said he left with Sensei a moment ago. Sakura sighed and went back to reading. Kushina walked over and sat down beside her daughter and asked, "So how are you today, dear?" Sakura said, "Fine. Kakashi passed us without even testing us when I told him what the test was about. We start missions tomorrow. Naruto and I both worked on tree climbing. He made it about halfway up the tree, but he also used his cage bunches, so he's probably a lot better now. I can make it all the way up and about halfway back down before I start running out of chakra." Kushina thought for a moment and said, "Are you still using what I gave you?" Sakura said, "Yeah, why?" Kushina smiled and said, "You will find out later. Just know that you are doing better, but I want you to remember what I told you this morning. Anyways, I got to get back to work and try not to follow in your father's footstep with the ramen." As she got up and went back to work, Sakura smiled a little and got back to reading. Naruto and Yamato arrived at the Forest of Death Aegean, and Yamato asked, "So what are your weights on now, Naruto?" Naruto looked at it and said, 400 plus the arm and leg weights. "Why?" Yamato was wide-eyed and said, "You're wearing 2,000 pounds of weight right now, not counting the arm and leg ones. How can you still be moving?" Naruto said, "I don't know." Yamato sighed and said, "Anyways, I know you read a lot yesterday, so I think you should be able to understand what I am saying. As you know, your bloodline is the ability to control plants. You see these trees around us. Notice how they are taller, thicker, stronger than any other tree in the world. The reason is that your ancestor made these trees himself using his bloodline. He altered them and made them into what you see now. Almost nothing can destroy these trees. That is the major secret behind this bloodline. You are able to alter plants to a point they are more of soldiers and weapons than plants. Now I want you to sit down and close your eyes." Naruto did as told, and Yamato said, "Now I want you to stretch out with your senses, but don't open your eyes. Forget them because you don't need them. Slowly send your chakra out of your body and feel all the plants on the ground and the trees themselves. Cover them with your chakra. Search out for the minds of the plants." Naruto's eyes snapped open and asked, "What?" Yamato, who was sitting just like Naruto, said, "Remember what you read yesterday. Plants are living things. They have chakra like all living things, and like any living thing they have a mind. It is not like ours. It is just telling the plant that if it's thirsty to get the water out of the soil, and the food if it's hungry, and then tells it where to go, and how to make it where it grows. I want you to feel out with your eyes closed and try and feel the chakra in each of the plants, and then feel for the mind that is telling it what to do." Naruto closed his eyes and slowly he sent his chakra out through his body and into the ground. Yamato watched this and he saw Naruto blue chakra, when it came into contact with the plants, suddenly changed to different shades of green. Grasses were only a small light green. The trees were a dark green, and other plants were giving off any shade of green in the middle. Yamato realized that the color showed how much chakra the plant had. Yamato said, "Okay, now that your chakra is flowing into the ground, I want you to try and pull it back toward you and see if you can feel the plants." Yamato watched as the green chakra that was on the ground slowly slid across the ground and into Naruto. Yamato raised an eyebrow at this and waited to see what was going to happen. Naruto looked like something was wrong as the green energy came back into him, and asked, I think I can feel the plants but am not sure. I feel one tree behind me that feels like it's in pain but I don't feel their minds. Yamato looked at the tree Naruto was looking at, and saw that there was a place where it was struck by lightning. Yamato asked, try and focus on the tree that is in pain, Naruto, and tell me what you experience. He watched as green chakra came from Naruto, and went toward the tree. The green energy covered the tree and Naruto scrunched his nose and said it in pain. Something is missing from it but I don't know what. It tired. Yamato nods and said, why don't you try and make it feel better, Naruto? See if you can make it feel better, Naruto. Naruto sent more energy toward the tree and at first nothing happened and Naruto started to get frustrated and sent even more energy. The tree bark started to grow back over the spot that was burned by lightning. Naruto got angry because he could not tell anything, so he sent more chakra at the tree. The tree suddenly started to shake and Yamato said, stop, Naruto. Naruto stopped and looked at Yamato, who was looking at the tree, and asked what. Yamato sighed and said, you need to calm down and don't get frustrated, Naruto. You were doing great there for a few minutes and you actually started to heal the tree, but then you got frustrated and look at the tree now. Naruto turned and looked where he felt the tree was and saw as it started to lose all its leaves and it looked as if it was dying. Naruto asked what happened. Yamato said, when you got frustrated you lost your concentration on the feelings of the tree. As such you did not realize when you were helping and then you wound up hurting the tree. Think about it as your body. The roots are your feet that take you to your food and water. The limbs are your arms and the leaves are your fingers. The leaves grab energy from the sun like you grab your chopsticks to eat ramen. Now inside your body your blood is carried by the veins. The plants have a similar system, but your heart pumps the blood and keeps the balance to make sure everything is even. When you got frustrated you broke the balance up to make it where the heart of the tree stopped, so it died. You have to respect the plants and they will respect you. Naruto nods and looks down and asked, is there anything you can do for that tree? Yamato sighed and said, no. I'm sorry. Naruto nods and asked, what now? Yamato said, I want to see something. Put your hands in a ram's seal and flare your chakra so I can see it. Naruto flared his chakra and Yamato looked and asked, okay. Without stopping, tell me what you feel. Naruto asked, what do you mean? Yamato sighed and said, right now I am seeing 3 different colors of chakra. Blue, which is your regular chakra. Red, that is the QB that is going into your system, and green, that you traded with the plants. Naruto stopped and asked, what do you mean I traded with the plants? Yamato said, when you first sent your chakra out did you feel anything from the plants? Naruto thought and said, no. I did after you told me to pull it back in though. Yamato nods and said, that's what I was thinking. You see, when you sent your chakra out the plants absorbed your chakra, and when you called it back they kept your chakra and gave you tear. That was why you could feel them. You are different than I am. I can sense plants but I can't feel what they do. I believe that was why you could tell that one was hurt without seeing it. Naruto asked, so what does this green chakra do? Yamato thought for a moment, and said, well, I think that it is basically how you will learn to control plants. I want you to flare your chakra Aegean and feel for the 3 different chakras with your eyes closed. When you think you can tell which is which, I want you to tell me where it is on your body. Naruto closed his eyes and flared his chakra Aegean and asked, I can't tell them apart. It all feels the same. Yamato sighed and asked, what does it feel like? Naruto thought for a moment and said, it feels in some spots like it's burning, in other places it feels cool like water, and then there are other places that don't feel anything. Still with his eyes closed, Yamato asked, okay, you said some of it feels like it is burning. Where is that at right now? Naruto thought and said, I feel it burning around my left hip. Now it's gone to my right arm. Yamato said, that's the QB chakra. What about the one that feels like water? Naruto, still with his eyes closed, said, it's around my feet. Yamato smiled and said, Naruto, you just pinpointed both the QB chakra and the plant's chakra. Thought you don't have much plant chakra. The other chakra is your normal chakra. I want you to try and move the plant's chakra to your hands, Naruto. Naruto tried but it was not working. Yamato asked, how did you make it move earlier when you were working on that tree? Naruto thought and said, I was focusing on the tree. Why? Yamato thought and walked over and picked up an acorn and handed it to Naruto and said, try and flare your chakra Aegean but send it to the acorn. Naruto did and Yamato saw that the green chakra went to the acorn that opened up and started to grow, but he also noticed that the amount of green chakra in Naruto went down, but the moment it hit some of QB red chakra they neutralized each other, and it turned blue like his regular chakra as both the green and the red went away. Yamada could have slapped himself as he realized what happened and said, I get it. Naruto asked, get what? Yamato said, you have QB chakra in you, which is basically something that would hurt your body, but since your bloodline makes it where you can stop demon chakra, what happens is you absorb the energy the plants gave you, and when it hits QB chakra it neutralizes it and makes it you chakra. Basically what it does is filters QB chakra even more. I am not for sure, but I think if you were to do what you did earlier with sending chakra out into plants, and then pull it into your body, then you could neutralize more of QB chakra faster. It will also help you when you get mad or upset. Naruto blinked and asked, what do you mean by when I get mad or upset? Yamato sighed and said, when you get emotional you start drawing on QB chakra and it makes your whiskers get bigger, and your eyes changed red and also your nails grow. I believe that if you were able to get mad enough QB could take over you for a little while. However, if I am right about what is happening with the plant's chakra, then the more of it you had in you, then the more of QB chakra you could access before you were to start being affected by it. Naruto thought a moment and said, I get it. It's like that book I read at the library about acids and bases. QB chakra is an acid and the plant's chakra is a base. When the two get together they make a neutral item, which in this case would be my chakra. Yamato was floored and said exactly. As long as you have enough base, then when the acid hit you could take up to the amount of base you have before you have to worry about the acid. Naruto smiled and said that's easy, so what's next? Yamato looked at his watch and said well, that's all for today, but we will conch you tomorrow. Work on tree climbing some more, but don't work on your bloodline unless I am around. I will meet you at the library at 2. Naruto nods and Yamato takes him back to the library, and Naruto sees that all his clones are gone and the library is closing, but they had not been dispelled. He walks in and asks Kushina, where are all my clones? Kushina said Sakura took them a while ago to your team training ground. She wanted to work on the tree climbing some more and took the clones as not only company but to also train with. Naruto nods and said okay, I was wondering. I got to go, I got sword practice. Kushina nods and looks around and said so who is this girl I heard Sakura talk about? Naruto stops and turns red and said no one. Kushina said too bad. I thought if she was your girlfriend you might bring her over to the Hokage's home someday. Naruto said Sakura talks too much. She a friend. And left. Kushina sighed and finished closing up. Naruto soon made it to the wolf claw weapon shop only to see the two green spandex wearing people from earlier leaving the store. Naruto walked in but shot one last look at them, and when he got there he saw Tenten behind the counter, and she smiled and asked so how was your test today Naruto-kun? Naruto said easy I guess. Sakura told Kakashi what the test was as soon as he pulled out the bells and he passed us. How was your day? Tenten said alright I guess. Dad's in the back and we don't close up for another hour so go on back and good luck. Naruto said thanks as he walked into the back. Tenten looked as he went and couldn't help but blush at the way he looked. When Naruto walked into the training ground he saw Dustin sitting by a metal table of some sorts. Dustin smiled and said I'm glad to see you Naruto. Bring your sword here a minute. Naruto brought it over and handed it to Dustin and he said open it. Naruto opened it and watched Dustin as he set the sheath and the sword in two different grooves but noticed that there were seals on the table and also on the other side where a wooden sword and sheath were at, and Dustin said I'm making a practice sword and sheath that weight exactly as yours does. It will only take a moment. After a few moments Dustin put Naruto's sword back together and handed it to him, and then grabbed the wooden ones and handed it to Naruto who noticed they weighed the same. Dustin said I hear you know Kagebunshin correct. Getting a nod he continued I want you to create one, and hand it your sword and have it look at your sword and memorize every detail of it. There are 4 seals on it. One you already know makes it where only you can open it. I want you to find the other 3 and see if you can figure out what 2 of those 3 do, but I want you to locate all 4. Naruto did as he was told and had 2 Kagebunshin start working on that. Dustin said okay, what I want you to do is take your wooden sword and put it on where you are most comfortable with it, and then practice drawing it out without trouble. When you can do it 500 times without messing up we will proceed. And walked inside the store leaving Naruto to get to work. An hour later Tenten came out and saw Naruto and his 2 Kagebunshins and asked so how's it going? Naruto stopped and said okay. Dustin asked have you gotten it down yet Naruto where you can remove your sword 500 times without trouble? Naruto said no, not yet. Dustin said well quit wasting my time and do it already. As he walked back in the shop, Tenten said you will get used to him. Show me what you have learned so far and I will see it I can help you out. Naruto went and had his practice sword on his left shoulder and reached up with his left hand to pull it out and Tenten said stop. That's where your problem starts. Naruto asked what do you mean? Tenten said are you right or left-handed? Naruto said right, why? Tenten said okay, you have your sword on the correct side but you are pulling it with your left hand. Kenjutsu is supposed to be free-flowing like water, not screwed up like a pile of trash. Okay, instead of pulling your sword out with your left hand pull it out with your right hand making a slashing motion. Try it and tell me how that feels. Naruto nods and reaches with his right hand across his chest and reached for his sword. He had grabbed the handle and Tenten said stop. Without looking is the sharp side of your blade on the left or right side? Naruto said right. Tenten said no, you currently have it on your left so when you pulled your sword out you would wind up striking with the blunt side of your sword. You must always make sure you know so turn your sword sheath around real quick and then demonstrate for me your drawing. Naruto turned it and soon drew and Tenten said that was good but it was too slow. Try Aegean but faster. Naruto sheathed it and tried Aegean this time faster. About an hour later Dustin walked out and saw Naruto quick drawing his sword and saw Tenten telling him to do it Aegean. Checking out the important things he saw his form was terrible, but he would be able to swing the sword. He said stop. Put your sword away Naruto. Naruto sheathed it, and Dustin said okay, I want to see something. Tenten, go get your practice sword real quick. Tenten nodded and left and returned a moment later but her sword was on her left hip. Dustin said okay, here is a challenge. I know how good Tenten is at swords so I want you Naruto to try and hit her. Tenten, you are to block him. If you can block him for an hour you get that weapon you have been wanting me to let you have. If Naruto hits you then you will have to work in the forge all day Sunday. Naruto, if you can hit her I will teach you a jutsu but if you can't then you have to work in the forge Sunday. Naruto asked can it be any day but Sunday? Dustin looked at Naruto and said boy, you are starting to piss me off. If you doubt you are going to win, then you have already lost. Now begin. Tenten waited and Naruto pulled out his sword and started to attack blindly, but Tenten blocked every swipe. An hour later, Dustin said, "Okay, Naruto, you lose. Tenten is the winner. Now tell me why you can't work Sunday." Naruto sighed and said, "I only get 2 days a week to be with my mom and sister without having to act like we don't know each other. Sunday and Wednesday are those days." Dustin looked at him and said, "You have a sister, and your mother is alive?" Naruto said, "Yes, though I just found out 2 days ago. My sister did not even know she had a brother before that, and my mom only found out I was alive when I was 7, but at that time it was already too late for me to be with her from what the Hokage said." "Please don't tell anyone." Dustin asked, "How is your sister related to you? I mean, do you both have the same dad and mom, or is she only a half-sister?" Naruto looked at him and said, "Twin." Dustin said, "Very well, you will still have to work in the forge, but I will only make it a half a day if that's okay with you." Naruto said, "No sir, I lost and I don't go back on a deal. You said it would be a full day and I will work a full day." Dustin smiled and said, "Fine. Tomorrow when you arrive I will have you work in the forge 1 hour every day. When you have worked 24 hours this one is over, but if you lose Aegean you will have to work more. Now tell me, why are you so slow? What are your weights up to?" Naruto blinked and said, "I keep forgetting these things. They are set at 400, but I also have the arm and leg weights you gave me." Dustin blinked and said, "Tenten, check the weights seal." Tenten noted and walked over to it, and was wide-eyed and said, "He's got it on 400, so he has 2,000 pounds on plus the arm and leg weights. How can he be up to that much already? Lee only has 6,000 on, and he worked for over a year, and Guy Sensei only has 10,000. Dustin thought, and said it must have something to do with the fox. "Naruto, zero your weights out and fight Tenten Aegean." Naruto nods and hits the release, and Tenten had her sword out. Within 5 minutes he had her hit, and Dustin said, "Good. That means that he actually was up to that level and the suit's not defected." Thought that does cause another problem. "Tell me, Naruto, have your clones found all 4 seals yet, and know what 3 of them are?" Naruto dispelled his clones and said they only found 3 seals. "The blood seal that makes it where only I can open it, an elemental seal that allows me to charge elemental chakra into it, and the last one is a seal to make it where it can't break as long as I am sending chakra in it." Dustin said, "Good, but I have to ask, how you knew what the last seal was?" Naruto said, "I went to the library and had my Kagebunshin read up on a lot of things. Sealing was one of them, and I completed the entire section they had on sealing." Dustin nods and said, "Okay, when your body gets used to a weight setting I want you to up your weights. I will also have you some more arm and leg weights to help you get faster. Today's lesson is done. I will see you tomorrow." Naruto nods as Dustin leaves and Tenten asks, "So, your sister is your twin?" "Funny. The only other blonde girl your age I know would be the Yamanko girl, but I know she's not your sister." Naruto smiled and said, "Nope, she's not a blonde and neither is my mom." Tenten sighed and said, "So, you think I might get to meet them sometime?" Naruto scrunched his nose and said, "That's funny. My mom said she wanted to meet you though she thinks you're my girlfriend." Tenten got red-faced and asked, "Oh, how does she know about me?" Naruto said, "One of my Kagebunshin accidentally asked my sister if all girls taste like strawberries and cream, and she figured that whoever I tasted must be my girlfriend and told my mom." Tenten asked, "And am I your girlfriend?" While blushing but looking at him out of the corner of her eye, Naruto said, "I told her you were a friend because I did not know if you wanted to be my girlfriend or not. I mean, we did kiss and I enjoyed it, but I did not want to say yes or no without asking you first since I don't have much experience at this." Tenten, who was a little upset at first but calmed down when he explained, asked, "And do you want me to be your girlfriend?" In a neutral voice, not betraying herself, Naruto said, I would like you to be, I mean if that's what you want." Tenten kissed him and said, "I would like that. Would you like to have dinner with us?" Naruto said, "Sure, Tenchan." As he followed her into the house and found that the table had already been set for him to join, Dustin asked, "So when's the wedding?" Making both kids blush even more. It had been a few days since then. Today was Sunday, so today was the day the Namake's family could be together. Sakura looked at her mom and asked, "So where is Naruto?" "He should have been here already." The third, who was sitting across from them, said, "I'm sure he will be here soon. Today will be the first time you all get to be as a family without having to lie. Just be patient, Sakura." Sakura sighed and said, "I'm sorry, it's just that even with us being on the same team we really don't get to talk too much. Kakashi late, and we are always working on our tree climbing to get stronger, and he has been researching at the library as well as working on his bloodline." The doorbell rang and Asuma, who was sitting in a chair, said, "I will get it," and walked to the door and opened it. A few moments later he returned with Naruto and Tenten and said, "Looks like we got guests." The third said, "Ah, Naruto, Tenten. So nice of you to come to see me today. What can I help you with?" Naruto put his arm around Tenten's shoulder and said, "I just thought I would bring my girlfriend with me to meet my family." And both Kushina and Sakura looked at Tenten. Tenten looked at them and said, "You." Looking at Kushina, Naruto asked, "Do you know my mom?" Kushina said, "We met. I gave her a hard time making sure she knew what she was getting into, and I may have been a little too hard." Tenten asked, "Well, we did not get to properly introduce ourselves the other day, I suppose?" In Tenten. As she narrowed her eyes at Kushina, Sakura smiled and said, "I'm Sakura, Naruto's sister. It's a pleasure to meet you." My brother has not said anything about having a girlfriend, though I suspected. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and Kushina said, it's a pleasure to meet you, Tenten, and I want to say I'm sorry for the other day, but I did not want to see my son get hurt Aegean, so that's why I said what I said. My name is Kushina Haruna Uzumaki Namikaze, former ninja of Whirlpool, and as you already know, the widow of Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage. Konohamaru was wide-eyed and said, you were married to the Yondaime. That means boss is the son of the Yondaime, right? Naruto said, yeah, Konohamaru. Sakura asked Naruto, how do you know Konohamaru, and why does he call you boss? Konohamaru said, Naruto taught me his cage killer. With a smile on his face, Sakura blinked and looked at Naruto and said, you didn't teach him that, did you? Tenten asked, cage killer, what is that? The third said, it's an A-rank forbidden jutsu Naruto here created along with the S-rank version of it. Unfortunately, he taught it to my grandson here before I had a chance to stop him. Konohamaru said, boss taught me the one version of it and then knocked out my sensei with the other. It's cool, would you like to see it? Naruto said, no, I mean I don't think Tenten would like to see it. Kushina asked, okay, I know what the A-rank version of it is, but what's the S-rank version? Tenten asked, I want to see it. Pouting, Naruto sighed and said, okay, but you asked for it. Harem jutsu. As he put his hands together, and suddenly the room was filled with nude blonde females, and the third and his son Asuma were both blown back into the walls with massive nosebleeds. Naruto had stopped the jutsu, and had a very cool trick set up for just such an occasion. When the smoke cleared, there were a dozen roses in front of his mom, which were pink roses, yellow roses in front of Sakura, and red roses in front of Tenten in Naruto's hands as he was on his knees in front of her. All three women blinked and blinked. Aegean and Konohamaru asked, hey boss, how did you get roses here so fast, and why are you on your knees? Naruto said, I had them sealed in a scroll. I got them when I went to the Yamanko flower shop to get some seeds to work on at my home. As for why I am on my knees, Sakura punches hurt, Tenten carries a lot of sharp weapons, and my mom is scary since the old man was scared of her. Tenten took the roses and was red and asked, so that's your cage killer? Naruto pointed toward the third and Asuma, who were both passed out, and said, any man over the age of puberty unless he's gay is instantly knocked out from it. It would not be bad except for the side effect though. Konohamaru asked, what side effect, boss? As each of the women looked at him, Naruto said, remember how I told you to make that one little chain in the henge sequence? Instead of turning you into a henge, it turns you into the person you henging into. Sakura blinked and said, wait, you mean to tell me that jutsu turns you into a girl? Naruto said, yes. Konohamaru, turn around a minute. Konohamaru did, and Naruto did the sexy no jutsu, and when the smoke cleared he said, touch and see for yourself. Now it may sound strange, but when each of them checked him out they found that he was actually a female, and the boobs worked perfectly, though it was Tenten that checked that out. He dropped the jutsu and said, okay Konohamaru, it's safe to look. Konohamaru asked, boss, why did you make me turn around? I seen it before a moment ago. Naruto said, you don't know what the female body looks like, so you don't know what parts are different. Tenten asked, and how do you know that, Naruto-kun? As she narrowed her eyes and spoke in a sweet voice, Naruto pointed to the third and said, I accidentally turned on the old man's crystal ball one day, and it was set for the hot springs. All three women became pissed, and the third, who had just woken up enough to hear that scream, Jiraiya, messed with it. Kushina said, relax for now. Jiraiya is the king of all perverts. Sakura asked, how do you know that, mom? Kushina said, if you ever read Aika Paradise Volume 2 you will find mine and your father's honeymoon in there. Tenten brightened up and said, your Gina and the Yondaime is Travis. Making everyone look at her, and she said, what? My father could not handle giving me the talk, so he gave me the book instead. Sakura asked, so what do you see in him, and what do you see in her? Naruto said, well, Tenten smart, pretty, strong, believes in me, does not judge me, a pretty good kisser, and… Sakura asked, so it was your lipstick on his lips the other day. Tenten sighed and said, I don't believe it. The one day I decide to wear makeup I wind up kissing a guy, and everyone in the village automatically knew it was me. Kushina asked, so when's the wedding? Naruto asked, do you think her and your dad are related? I mean, they both asked the same question. Sakura asked Naruto, does she know about that? Patting her stomach, Naruto sighed and Tenten said, yes, I know about Kyubi, the Yondaime, as well as the fact Naruto has a bloodline and is related to Tsunadesima, as well as the fact he is going to have to marry 2 women. Naruto said, hey old man. I have been wondering. Since both Sakura and I have water affinities, any way we could learn Suiton Jutsu? The third said, not unless Kakashi teaches you, though I can help you a little with your other elements. Asuma asked, how many elements do they have, dad, and what are they? The third said, Sakura has water and Naruto has earth, water, wood, and wind. Asuma said, wind, really? That means you're the same element as me. If you want I can help you with it when you're ready. Naruto smiled and said, thanks Asuma-sensei. Asuma looked at Sakura and said, I can't help you with water, but I know someone who can, though she is a little sadistic. Tenten said, it can't be worse than Gei-sensei. Asuma looked at Tenten and asked, what element are you? Tenten said, water also. Why? Kushina looked at them and said, Hokage-sama. I know who Asuma has in mind and I know she is good and all, but I do have another idea that might make it good for Sakura. Tenten. The third said, what is it, Kushina? Kushina sighed and said, you know what my true skill level is. Though I have kept my skills hidden for all these years, I could pass them on to Sakura and Tenten. Since Whirlpool don't exist any longer, nothing I teach them would be considered a village secret. I could work with both of them and pass on what I know to them, and Asuma can work with Naruto on the days we are here, and the sooner they all get strong the faster we can get out in the open. Tenten asked, why me? Kushina said, you may not realize it, but the moment you started dating my son you became a target for all his father's enemies as well as anyone who wants to hurt him or us, so that means you are like a daughter to me, no, in their eyes. The third thought for a moment and asked, how much are you willing to teach them? Kushina said, everything. The third was silent a moment, and Tenten asked, how good are you? I know you can suppress Uchurka good, but what is your skills? The third sighed and said, Kushina, when she got married was an S-rank nin in the bingo book. She has 3 jutsu that made her almost as feared as the Yandame's Hiraishin. She's good. Sakura asked, what are those 3 jutsu, mom? Kushina sighed and said, one was the virgin summonings, one was the Suetun, Uzumaki Unato, and the last was the forbidden just to death stare. Tenten asked, what do they do? Kushina said, well, the Suetun, Uzumaki Unato does exactly as it sounds. You have to be near water like most Suetun jutsu. This just creates a tidal wave that covers the area in water, and even if you know water walking it can still get you. The water spirals and then it pulls you under while spinning you until it drowns you or whoever cast it releases it. The forbidden jutsu death stare is a genjutsu. It makes you believe that you have died and the Shinigami has come for you. It then makes you review your life, except it makes you live your own personal hell. It usually only lasts a few seconds and almost everyone who is in it dies. The best part is that the Sharingan can't counter it. Sakura asked, what about the other one, mom? Kushina said, before I explain that one, do all you men mind leaving for a few minutes? Asuma sighed and said, come on Konohamaru, Naruto, come with me. I will show you how wind chakra works. You want to come, dad? The third said, sadly I must be returning to the office. Stay as long as you want, Kushina. And left in a swirl of leaves. When they were gone, Kushina looked at both girls and said, the reason I wanted them gone is because I need you both to answer this question truthfully. Are you still a virgin? Sakura looked at Tenten and said, I am. Why, mom? Kushina looked at Tenten, who said yes. Why? Kushina smiled and said, good. The reason I asked is because, as the name sounds, it is a summoning that will only work as long as you are virgins. If you summon the creature and not be a virgin, the creature will kill you. As you heard, I'm originally from Whirlpool. For a long time women were second-hand citizens there, and were often treated as nothing more than sex slaves. A priestess traveled through the area and saw what was happening, and she decided to do something that gave women the ability to stand up and change the way they were seen. She used her knowledge to bring back to life 2 men that were responsible for thousands of deaths. They were corrupted by evil to the point they made what Kyuubi did to Konoha look like a walk through the park. The priestess created a community, and soon women came there to escape their treatments. As time went on, the priestess trained women in the arts of the summoning of those 2 beings. After the priestess died, her followers stayed true for a while but soon forgot her warning. She made it where you had to be pure to avoid the being's influence. The followers wound up splitting over wanting to have children or staying in the covenant. They wound up destroying themselves except for one girl who was just about your age. That girl was my grandmother, and she took the 2 summonings with her. It has passed down in my family until today. I would give them both to you, Sakura, but I think one is more than enough for you since you only need one at a time, so I will ask you, Sakura, which would you rather have? The summoning that could kill a large group or the one that kills the smaller group? Both have their advantages and disadvantages. The one that kills a large group has to be summoned near water and is a long-range attacker. The one who can kill a large group has to be summoned indoors and is a short-range attacker. Now choose. Sakura thought and said, since I don't have any long-range or large jutsu, I will take the one that takes out a lot. Tenten asked, why are you letting me have this? Kushina said, I saw you and Naruto on the mountain. I know you care for him and I believe that you are worthy of it for being trustworthy. Now are you okay with the indoor summon? Tenten said, I'm a long-range fighter, so yeah, I could use some close-range help. Kushina nods and said, I need to see your right arms near your shoulders. I have to put a seal on you. Tenten said, I guess I will go first. Kushina nods and starts doing some handsings and bites her thumb and said, transfer of the contract elm. And slammed her hand that was covered in black chakra onto Tenten's arm. The word elm was tattooed on her arm. Tenten said, that's not too bad. So how do I summon this thing, and how do I control it? Kushina said, just wipe some blood on the word there and think of the person you want dead, but make sure you only use it if you truly want them dead, because it can't be stopped until that person is dead. Even if you are dead, it will also. There is no chakra drain or anything to it, just blood. Tenten nods and Kushina goes through the process Aegean and said, transfer of the contract 13. And slammed her black hand onto Sakura's arm and the number 13 showed up. Kushina said, you are basically the same way, dear. Just wipe your blood on the number 13, and it will summon the creature, and think of who you want dead. It won't stop until that person is dead, but remember you have to be by water and don't get in either of their ways or they will kill you. Now remember this. The moment you decide to have sex, never use these summons Aegean. When you are older, I will tell you both how to transfer the contracts to either your daughters or to someone you feel is worthy of them, but it must be a virgin female. Sakura asked, so what are we going to do? No, mom. Kushina said for today we will just spend the rest of the day with your brother, and getting to know Tenten and allow her to know us. The next time we meet we will spend time visiting as well as training. Tenten said thank you Mrs. Kushina said just call me Kushina. That way you don't accidentally slip and say the wrong name. Let's go see Naruto now. As she gets up and both girls followed her into the backyard only to see Naruto holding some leaf in his hand with about 500 cage buncheons. Tenten asked how many of those things can he make. Sakura said over 1,000 and still keep going. Tenten nods and said he's going to be strong soon with his weights, sword skills, and other skills. Kushina blinked and asked how much weight does he have on. Tenten said the last time I checked he was up to 2,600 pounds total. Kushina and Sakura were wide-eyed and Konohamaru who heard this said boss is cool. Sakura asked so how did you and my brother meet Konohamaru? Konohamaru said Naruto went to see Irika who was at Grandpa's office when I came in and tried to attack Grandpa. I said he was the one who tripped me and made me fall, and after he learned who I was and my sensei showed up he hit me and said he did not care if I was the Hokage grandmother. I followed him, and he taught me the sexy no jutsu, and then my sensei showed up and said to stay away from such filth, and I tried using my sexy jutsu on him, but it did not work so boss made the harem jutsu, and it knocked my sensei out. He then told me we were rivals for the title FO Hokage and don't listen to my sensei when he told me there were shortcuts to being Hokage. Tenten giggled and said I'm surprised he can get away with some of the stuff he does. Kushina said get away with, no? Outsmart yes. So how is his sword skills coming? Tenten said well, he is getting better though he has only learned the proper way to hold a sword so far. Dad is making him do each exercise until he does it perfect 500 times in a row without messing up or he has to start all over. He is also working an hour at my family weapon shop in the forge to pay off a challenge bet. Sakura asked so what do you think of him? Tenten said he's unique. Kind, strong, tastes like ramen, caring, funny, and looks pretty good. Sakura asked so, how serious are you both? Tenten said I guess you could say we are getting to know each other better, but we have not done much besides a few kisses and have dinner together in the evenings after he works at the shop as well as trains. We do have some small talk and I am finding that he knows a little about a lot of things. Sakura smiled and said I'm happy for him and you. Until recently I was in love with the Rookie of the Year and our other teammate, and he's a real ass. Tenten giggled and said yeah, I was the same way but I got over my crush over my class's Rookie of the Year though a part of me wishes things were different. I am glad they went the way they did. Your Rookie of the Year sounds like mine. Stuck up ass who is always talking about fate. Sakura asked so were you a fangirl also? Tenten said hell no. I would bitch slap any fangirls that came around me. I may have liked Niji but my dream is more important to me and I want to prove that female ninja can be just as good as male ninja just like my idol Tsunadesima. Sakura lowered her head and Kushina smiled while putting a hand on Sakura's shoulder and said there dear. You're not a fangirl any longer so forget all about it. Tenten said hey Naruto, what are you doing? Naruto said I'm trying to cut this leaf in half with my wind chakra but it's hard. Tenten said well why don't you come over here and spend some time with us or we could train with you. Naruto dropped the leaf but kept his clones working and said so, what do you want to talk about? Kushina said let's talk about grandchildren. Getting a glare from all three teens. Things progressed like this for the next 2 months. Every Wednesday and Sunday the four of them would spend time at the Saratobi Estates. Team 7 had done a lot of missions but still had not really learned anything from Kakashi except more teamwork. Naruto's use of his bloodline was a disappointment for him because all he had been able to do was heal plants. He had not been able to do anything besides that Bay 1 learning the wood style, wood clone, wood style, birth of the dense force set, and wood style, growth which he could do no without hand seals but it was the easiest since all he had to do was feed a plant chakra. The third started to act weird and kept looking at the gates like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse was coming and several people asked, but he said it was just a personal matter. Tenten and Sakura training under Kushina progressed rapidly. Both had learned the Suiton, Uzumaki Undertow along with several other low-rank Suiton jutsu. Everything seemed to be going good until Dustin walked into the Hokage's office one day and said I came to inform you that Tenten and Naruto will both be unable to do missions for the rest of the week, and you should pass it on that they won't be around until that time is up. The third looked up from his paperwork and asked why is it 2 of my genins are not going to do missions. Dustin said Tenten is suffering from major blood loss and Naruto is from chakra exhaustion as well as a few other problems related to his training. The third said I have not seen any hospital reports saying Tenten was hurt, and how is Naruto out of chakra? Dustin looked to make sure no one was in the office and reached into his pocket and pulled out a kunia, and said I'm sure you know what this is. It's related to that. The third was wide-eyed and asked how. Dustin smiled and said I am the only person alive who knows the secret of it, and only Naruto will know it along with my daughter Tenten. Well, I need to get back to my home and check on those two. Don't want to be a grandfather. CYA. As he walked out of the office, the third smiled and said this is an interesting twist. Dustin smiled and thought about what happened the day before. Flashback. Naruto had arrived at the Wolf Claw weapon shop for his daily lessons and walked inside but Tenten was standing at the door and locked it as he came in putting the close sign on the door and said Dad needs to talk to us, and he said it was important. Naruto nodded and walked into the back with Tenten behind him and saw Dustin sitting at the dining table, and he said I'm glad you're here Naruto. Your training has come along nicely, and it's time you learn the jutsu that I have been training you to use. It's time for you to learn the Hiraishin. Naruto was wide-eyed and Tenten asked, but how, Dad? Nobody knows how it works. I know you can make the kuniyas and all, but how are you going to teach him that? Dustin said, sit down, and I will explain it. Both sat down beside each other across from him, and he said, okay, I do know the secret of the jutsu, but I need to ask you, Naruto. Are you willing to let Tenten know the secret, and are you willing to do whatever it takes to learn this jutsu no matter how embarrassing or stressful it is? Naruto thought and said yes. I trust Tenchan with my life and that of my family. Dustin said, good. Now I will explain the secret of the Hiraishin. You already know that the yandame would flash to wherever the kuniya was at, but nobody had ever figured out how he did it. The truth is he tricked everyone into believing that he was doing one thing while he was doing something else. You see, people thought he was moving at incredible speed to make it to each kuniya, but the truth is he was summoning himself to each point. As you know from your sealing skills, when you seal something in a scroll and unseal it, you are summoning it back from wherever it is. Your dad's kuniya are actually the summoners, and your dad made himself the item that is summoned. The seals on the kuniya are two different kinds. One is the actual summoning, while the other is a genjutsu that makes everyone see the yellow flash when he appears instead of smoke. Now that may sound simple, just summoning himself to each point, but the truth is he had a seal on his body that made it where he would be summoned safely. I don't know where he came up with the seals, but I know them. All I have to do is put the seal on you and then make the kuniyas with the summoning seal on them, and then have you practice learning how to deal with more than one kuniya at a time. Naruto said, so the big secret is there is a seal on Dad that actually summoned him. That is a big prank. So how do I do it? Dustin said, well, the thing is I have to put a seal on you, and since your weight suit is maxed out, I also want to put the actual weight seal on you so that way you can keep upping them without having to buy a new weight suit. Naruto said, okay, that's fine because my old one was getting tight anyways. So when do we start? Dustin said it depends on Tenten because she has the important part of this. Tenten asked, what do you need me to do, Dad? Dustin sighed and said, I need your blood to mix with the ink to make the seals, so that means I'm going to have you let me hook you up to that machine we have for blood seals, and no, we can't get blood from the hospital because the amount we need is more than they allow us. You are going to need soldier and blood pills, and you will also have to be there to help me if Naruto passes out or runs out of chakra. Tenten looked at Naruto and said, I can be ready in a few minutes. Naruto asked, are you sure? Tenten said, relax. I've done it before for simple seals, so it's not like I don't know what to expect, but it will make me tired for a few days while my body restore my blood. Besides, like your mom said, I'm part of your family. Dustin said, okay, we will be in the sealing room. Naruto, follow me. Naruto got up and followed Dustin to the sealing room where they put all the seals on their weapons so no one learned their secrets. And he said to Naruto, okay, strip. Naruto blinked and asked what? Dustin sighed and said, the seals for the two seals I am putting on you have to go over your entire body. The Hiraishin seal makes a small bubble appear around you, but if say I don't put it on your arm and you perform the jutsu, you could wind up losing your arm, so I have to put it on your arms, legs, torso, and head, and they have to be connected, so you have to be naked for me to make the seals and connect them. The same goes for the weight seal. Naruto was red-faced and said, but Tenchan. Dustin said, we'll have to see you naked. Yes, I know. That's why I asked if you would be willing to do anything even if it was embarrassing, but I need her help in case you pass out, as well as her having to be here so I can have her blood running into my ink machine, and the fact that if you ever want to teach this to your children, someone will have to know how to put it on. Naruto sighed and Dustin said, just think of it as giving her a free show to show her how good you look. Now strip. Naruto slowly striped and laid on the floor where he was told to when Tenten walked in and fainted. Dustin got some smelling salt to wake her up and smiled to himself, and after explaining what was going on, and making her red-faced, he hooked in four to her that connected to the ink machine that would mix her blood along with a special ink so he could make the seals. Naruto looked at Tenten as she looked at him, though she snuck a few glances down from his face but went back up when she felt like she was going to faint as Dustin started to work, but he stopped after a while when he got to the stomach and said, okay, Naruto, I need you to start channel some chakra so the QB seal appears, and don't stop so I don't mess with it. Naruto nods and placed his hand on his stomach, and both Tenten and Dustin saw the seal, and both being experts at seals looked at it a few moments, and Dustin continued putting the seal on. About 2 hours later, and 2 blood pills and 1 soldier pill for Tenten, Dustin finished the last seal and activated it, and it burned into Naruto's skin, making him cry out in pain but soon passed out, and a few moments later Tenten did as well, but from blood loss. Dustin sighed and got a few pillows and a blanket, and brought them over to the passed out teens and put the pillows under their heads and covered them up and removed the 4 from Tenten's arm. Flashback end. Dustin smiled as he walked inside and saw that they had snuggled up together in their sleep for warmth, though he had put a second blanket over Naruto to make sure no accidents happened and Tenten's cloths mysteriously leave her body. He may like the boy and trust him, but he was going to protect his daughter as long as he could. The next day Naruto awoke and felt refreshed and saw Tenten was still out and heard a noise in another room, so he got dressed and walked into the forge room and saw Dustin working on something, and Naruto asked, so what did you mean the other day when you said that you have been training me to use the Hiraishin? Dustin stopped and walked over to Naruto and asked, do you remember the first task I gave you when you started training? Where I told you that your sword had 4 seals and you only could find 3. Naruto said, yeah, I though it was a joke because I still have not found it. Dustin said the reason you can't find it is because it is hidden. Hand me your sword a moment. Naruto pulled his sword off his back and handed it to Dustin, and he pointed to the sheath and said, since you know more about swords from working here, tell me what's wrong with this sheath. Naruto looked at it and thought a few moments before he said the end of the sheath is flat where all other ones are rounded. Dustin nods and said correct. The flat end down there is a special material that transfers chakra, but underneath that material there is a modified Hiraishin seal on it. Where the kunia require a blood seal, I reworked it where you can put a temporary chakra marker on an enemy with the butt end of your sheath. That's why I have been teaching you to hit the butt end into enemies when you get an opening. If you channel chakra into the sheath like I have been training you to, then you have about 3 minutes after you hit someone with the butt end before the seal disappears, and what's best about it is since it's chakra based nobody can copy it, and unless there are 2 Hyugas and one tells the other it's there, then they want no either. Your dad wanted it made that way so that way if you could not pull out a kunia because of the situation that you could still tag someone. He took his own flaw and made it where it was fixed. Of course he had not figured out how to do it, but I came up with that. Now I want you to rest the rest of the day since you have this week off, and we will train you to use the markers. Over the next few days Naruto worked on the Hiraishin, while Tenten recovered and offered advice on how to do it better. By the end of the week both were pleased with their recovery as well as the sealing and training. Naruto and Tenten walked into the Hokage's office to report back to duties but saw Yamato was there, and he was not looking happy. Naruto said, "Hey old man. What's wrong? You look like someone died." Yamato said, "Naruto, Tenten, how are you both doing? Are you ready to return for mission?" Naruto said, "Yeah. We both got over why we had to be out of service." The third said, "All right. I need both of you to get ready and meet Yamato at the front gate in 1 hour. Your teams need you." Naruto asked what's going on. Yamato said since you both were out, the Hokage combined both teams but took Guy off to do regular mission. A summoned dog arrived earlier this morning saying the mission they are on went from a C rank to A rank. They have ran into a missing nin named Zabuza. They had a fight and Kakashi is down with injuries as is Zabuza, but they need more help. Prepare for combat and high-speed travel. Meet me at the gate in 1 hour. And left in a swirl of leaves. Naruto looked at Tenten and both nodded, and Naruto said, "Tell my mom what's going on." And they both left. When they got to the gates they were just about to leave when a sudden earthquake hit, and then an explosion a few feet in front of them. Dust covered the area and there standing in front of them was a huge-ass toad. A man and 2 women jumped off the toad and took off toward the Hokage tower. Yamato said, "Come on, we have to go." And took off around the toad which went up in smoke. Naruto and Tenten looked at the retreating figure and Tenten said, "I know the man was Jiraiya, but I could not tell who the 2 women were." As they followed closely behind Yamato, Yamato said, "I believe that was Tsunadesima, but I can't be sure. We don't have time to worry about it. Your teammates are in trouble." Naruto looked at Yamato and asked, "How fast can you go, Yamato?" Yamato said, "I can go faster, why?" Naruto looked at Tenten and said, "Tenten, hop on my back. I'm zeroing my weights out. I know you're fast, but you also were not expecting to have to do this right after using so much blood." Tenten nods and jumps on his back and Yamato takes off even faster but is surprised that Naruto was even faster than he was now. They matched pace with each other and Naruto asked, "So what do we know about this Zabuza guy?" Tenten said he's a former member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist. Yamato said he tried to assassinate the Mizukage. According to the report Kakashi sent, he has an assistant that is disguised as a hunter nin and is skilled with senbons. Apparently a man named Gato wants the client killed and has hired Zabuza to do it. He also has some merc that we may have to deal with. Let's talk more travel. And he started to increase to his fastest speed, which Naruto easily matched. Back in Konoha, the third, when he felt the earthquake and saw Gambunta at the front gate, he knew that the end was here. The end arrived a few moments later when the doors to his office were busted off the henges, and a pissed-off-looking Tsunade stood there, and said this had better not be some sick joke. The third said, "Jiraiya, go get Kushina. She's at the library." Jiraiya nods and leaves and Tsunade said, "Where are they?" The third said, "Just wait for Kushina to get here so I don't have to reap." Just then Jiraiya arrived with Kushina. The third sighed and said, "Well, now that everyone's here and the door's closed, I guess I should introduce you, Tsunade. This is Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, widow of Minata Namikaze, who I believe was your son since Naruto possesses your grandfather's bloodline." As he pulled out the elemental card Naruto first used, and showed them that it had wood in it, Tsunade asked, "Why do you suspect he was my son? As far as you know, I never had any children." The third said, "A. Because you would not have come back if Minata was not your son, since you would not believe Jiraiya not to come back. B. Minata gave me the clue since blondes have never been popular in Konoha. Besides you, the Yamenkas are the only other blondes." Tsunade sighed and said, "Damn you. Yes, he was my son." Jiraiya asked, "Why did you never tell him, or me?" Tsunade said, "Simple. I had him a little over 9 months after losing my brother. You figure the rest out." As she sat down, Jiraiya was wide-eyed and said, "Then he was." Tsunade only nodded her head and said, "We were both too young and stupid to take care of a child, and we had a war going on that we could not stop, so I put him in the orphanage to protect him. It was not until I met Dan that I felt I was ready for a family, and then I tried to find him and saw that he was with you, so I decided that it would be best if he never knew, and since you treated him as a son I thought it would be best for everyone. Kushina groaned and said, don't tell me the lecher was Minata father. Damn it, that makes it even worse. Remembering being put in the pervert's book, Shizen asked where is Naruto and his sister? The third said Naruto and Tenten just left a few minutes before you arrived to go to Wave Country. The mission tier teams were on turn from a C rank to an A rank. Kushina asked, is Sakura alright? The third said yes, but they ran into a missing nin named Zabuza and Kakashi been injured, so until Yamato arrives there are only 4 genins. Tsunade asked where? The third said they are on their way to Wave Country. Jiraiya was out the window faster than anyone could see and Tsunade was behind them, leaving Shizen and Kushina with the third. Kushina said you might as well stay with me until they return. Shizen said I should be with. Anything she would have said ended when she saw Gambunta appear Aegean and take off, and she could see 2 figures on top of it, and she sighed and said alright, I guess that I should accept. As she left with Kushina, who was worried. On top of Gambunta, Jiraiya looked at the woman beside him and said, you could have told me. I mean, he was my son after all. Tsunade sighed and said, Jiraiya? What kind of parents would we have been? Between me being a depressed alcoholic gambler, and you being a super pervert. Not to mention that if our enemies would have found out, then nothing would have been able to protect him. Jiraiya said, I know that, but still I could have spent more time with him. I could have told him who his father was. I could have been there for our grandchildren. I think that's them. As he pointed, Yamato and Naruto were traveling fast when all of a sudden an explosion rocked behind them, and there was the giant toad standing there. Yamato said, Jiraiya-sama, what's going on? Tsunade jumped down and looked at the group and looked at Naruto and asked, are you Naruto? Naruto said, yeah, who wants to know? Tenten squealed in his ear and said, Naruto-kun, that's Tsunade-sama. Naruto blinked and said, so you're my grandmother? Tsunade said, yes, though I did not know your father was married or had children. I would like to see you use your bloodline. Naruto pulled out a seed and said, growth. And suddenly the seed sprouted and turned into a flower. Tsunade said, so you do have it. Yamato said, I'm sorry to interrupt this happy reunion, but we need to move to save your teams. Jiraiya said, hop on Gambunta here. He can get us to Wave faster than running. Gambunta said, why should I, Jiraiya? Jiraiya pointed toward Naruto and said, he's my grandson and next in line for your contract. Naruto blinked and said, grandson. Tenten looked at him and asked, how many powerful ninja are you related to Naruto-kun? Yamato jumped on Gambunta and said, less talking, more moving. Tsunade, Naruto and Tenten jumped on Gambunta and Jiraiya said, use chakra to hold on. As they took off toward Wave. In Wave Country, Sakura was walking through the village when 3 men walked up toward her, and one said, you're one of those ninja from Konoha. You're coming with us. Sakura said, I don't think so, as she started to fight. However, since her Taijusta was lacking and the only offensive jutsu she knew needed water, she was not fast enough, and one of the men got behind her and knocked her out. The man that knocked her out said, so much for a genin from Konoha. Another man said, that's what they get for not training them like we do in Mist. The third man said, you both need to shut up. Gato made a deal with us for the capture of Zabuza as long as we take out the old man. He should just let us kill him and collect our bounty, but the Mizukage said to follow Gato orders as if they came from him. Apparently Gato and the Mizukage are close friends. The first man said, I heard that Gato is the one who is running the slave ring for all the bloodline whores we have. Well, we better return and inform Gato we have her. And the 3 men left with Sakura over one of Thea's shoulders, but all 3 failed to notice a person eavesdropping on Thea's little talks, as well as the fact that the person melted into an ice mirror moments later. A few hours later, though no one spoke more than a few words for the trip to Wave, they finally made it to the shore before they had to let Gambunta swim on top of the water to make it across. Kakashi sighed as he read the note that was planted on the door with a kunai and said, so Sakura was captured by Gato's men yesterday, and they wished to have a trade, Sakura for Tazuna. Sasuke said it's her fault for being weak. Niji said it was her fate to be captured. Lee looked at both of them and said, both of your flames of youth are diminished. Kakashi sighed and then turned his head toward the bridge and said, we got company heading for the bridge. It might be Gato. Let's go. Lee asked, how do you know that, Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi said, I have a cage bunchen at the bridge in case someone comes and tries to destroy it, and it sensed several powerful people approaching the bridge, and it dispelled to tell me. As he got up and Tazuna followed as the genin and Kakashi left. Tenten was having to hold on to Naruto to keep from falling off when Gambunta said, well, Jiraiya, this is as far as I'm going. I see the bridge right there that I can see connects to Wave, so good luck. And went up in smoke the moment they all set foot on the bridge. Naruto said, we need to find Sakura and the others. Kakashi came walking with Lee, Niji, and Sasuke as well as an old man and said, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Yamato. I knew I felt Gambunta coming toward the island. It's good to see you, Aegean. Unfortunately, that's not going to be easy, Naruto. Sakura been captured. Naruto walked over to Kakashi and picked him up off the ground by his vest, shocking the man, and said, what do you mean Sakura been captured? Where were you at when she was captured, and why did you not stop it from happening? Shaking him like a rag doll, Tenten said, Naruto-kun, put him down so he can explain. Naruto dropped him on his ass and said, where is she? A voice said she is being held prisoner by a group of Miss Black Ops in Gato's base. They want to ransom her for the old man. As Zabuza walked out of the mist along with a masked hunter Nin, Kakashi, who had shifted into a defensive position along with his team, asked, "What are you doing here, Zabuza?" "Come to finish off Tazuna." The person next to Zabuza said, "My name is Haku, and I am Zabuza's assistant. I overheard the Miss Nins talking when they captured your pink-haired teammate in the market. I told my master. Gato is planning on giving Zabuza to them once the bridge builder is dead." Zabuza said, "I don't like being double-crossed, and the men that have her would kill me before I left the island if they could find me, and they have already killed 4 of the 7 swordsmen already. They are the Mizukige's personal black ops." Naruto appeared behind Haku with a kunai at his neck and asked, "Where is she at?" In a cold voice, Zabuza said, "I will only tell if you agree to an alliance. She is safe for now, but Gato said once the mission is complete that the Miss Nins can have fun with her, and not until." Tsunade said, "You got your alliance, now where is she?" Making everyone wide-eyed, though, since she was a Sand Nin, she outranked everyone there but Jiraiya. Haku said, "Gato hideout is 2 miles north of the village. It's a big building hanging by some trees." Naruto said, "I'm gone," and took off toward the direction he could see the village, leaving a dust cloud where he was, and Lee said, "He's as fast as me." Yamato said, "Damn it, Naruto, you're not going to help her if you get yourself killed." As he took off following Naruto, Kakashi asked Tsunade, "You can't be ready to believe Zabuza and Haku?" Not taking his eyes off of them, Jiraiya said, "I may not trust them, but I believe them. I have heard of Gato before from my spy network, and he's a snake in the grass. I will agree also to an alliance, but should you try to double-cross us, Zabuza, I will kill you." Tsunade said, "Take a number. Tenten, you stay with Kakashi and the others to protect the bridge builder. Zabuza, you are coming with us." As she took off the same way Naruto did, Tenten said, "Jiraiya-sama, please take care of Naruto-kun and Sakura." Jiraiya nodded and took off following Tsunade, Zabuza and Haku. Kakashi sighed and said, "So why were you and Naruto unable to be on our teams for the last week?" Tenten said, "I had severe blood loss and Naruto-kun had chakra exhaustion." As she walked over to Niji and Lee said, "Your flames of youth brightly, Tenten? It's good to see you, Aegean." Sasuke asked, "How is the dobe so fast?" Tenten said that's his secret. Kakashi asked, "Why did the Hokage send 2 Sanins as well as 2 Genins and Injounin for this mission?" As he looked at Tenten, Tenten said, "I don't know why. You would have to ask them or the Hokage. I do know it originally started off just Yamato, Naruto and me." Kakashi asked, "Then can you tell me why Naruto had chakra exhaustion?" As he narrowed his eyes, Tenten said, "Sorry, family secret." Kakashi said, "But Naruto does not have any family to be secrets with. He's an orphan." Tenten said, "Sorry, family secret." As she looked around and tensed and said, "Shit, we got company." Making everyone look where she was looking and noticed a group of nearly 200 mercs were standing at the end of the bridge. Naruto was running in the direction he was told and heard Yamato yelling at him to stop, and he sighed before stopping. Yamato quickly caught up with him and said, "You know better than that, Naruto. You don't run into battle without thinking." Tsunade landed beside them and said, "Which way, Zabuza?" As Zabuza and Haku landed beside her, Zabuza said, "About a half-mile in that direction." Jiraiya, who finally caught up, smacked Naruto upside the head and said, "You're acting stupid, Gaki. Think, or they will kill her." Naruto said, "I already got a plan. Come on and don't slow me down." As he jumped in the direction Zabuza pointed, leaving behind several stunned-looking adults and an amused Haku, Naruto stopped at the edge of a clearing and saw the building Zabuza mentioned and said, "Hold on, Sakura. I'm coming." And he put his hands in a seal and created a clone and handed it his weapons, and then turned himself into his sexy no jutsu form, but with a pair of shorts on and a shirt that looked like it had been ripped off, and she was holding it together with her hand, but on the inside of the shirt she had a single kunia, and jumped down to the ground and started running toward the building and screamed, "Help! Someone save me!" As she ran toward the building, the group of adults all landed beside the clone in the tree when they heard a female scream, "Help! Somebody save me! He's going to kill me!" The clone said, "Don't move. It's the real me." Jiraiya asked, "What do you mean, the real you?" The clone said, "I'm a cage bunshin who's holding his weapons and stuff." Tsunade was about to say something when she saw 5 men appear out of the door, and the girl said, "Help! That man with the huge sword tried to attack me. Help!" In a scared voice, Zabuza said, "I have you know I may be an ass, but I would never do that." The clone said, "Just stay here and watch." It then hinged to look like Zabuza and jumped down and ran toward the female Naruto. The 5 men said, "Zabuza, what the hell are you doing back here? Gatos order us to kill you." Zabuza clone smirked and said, "You think you can beat one of the 7 swordsmen? I've come to collect my revenge for that fat bastard double-crossing me." And charged at the men. While they were distracted with the clone, female Naruto ran inside the building and started looking in every room he could find, looking for Sakura. The clone Zabuza got to about 5 feet away from the men and said, "I guess I will have to have my fun later," and ran toward the opposite way. The real Zabuza was, though the clone was limping. Everyone watched as the 5 men looked at each other and started to chase after him, only to stop when the clone turned and said, "Sexy no jutsu." and turned into a nude blonde-haired girl, and they all flew backwards with nosebleeds, not expecting the man they were going OT kill to turn into a nude girl. With that picture and the thought of what Zabuza was supposedly going to do to the girl in their heads, they were perverted, and the clone charged fast and stabbed each of the men in the head with his sword. Jiraiya said the kid is either a genius or damn lucky. The clone stopped and looked back and started to shake and dropped his sword, looking down at the bodies. Up in the tree, Yamato said damn it, and jumped down to the clone, who unfortunately went up in smoke.